something where you could designate a player to just hit that wouldn't have to play in the field, and therefore you could find a way to give Salvi a day off behind the plate and still have your first baseman at first base and also be in the lineup. One day, if Major League Baseball does that, that would be cool. That was going to be my sarcastic way of approaching today. I love Salvi, but it's also, to me, not Salvi's fault. Like,
it's not his fault.
It wouldn't be Salvi's fault if he made errors in center field. It wouldn't be the guy who is just not good enough right now to play a Major League first base. To me, it's the fault of roster construction and also the guy that keeps putting him out there at first base. But that's not the case. They win the game. Jack, what's your takeaway from this road trip? Wraps up a really bad one, a really rough road trip. There is no getting around how terrible they played, how awful the offense has been. 22 runs they scored in those 10 games. Shocker, they won 2 of them when you score 22 runs. But 10-game road trip, 22 runs scored total. They find a way to beat Skubal. How do you assess what these 10 games were after finding a way to take 3 of 4 from Minnesota before you headed out on the road on a big road trip?
Yeah, it was a very disappointing road trip, and I guess it comes down to a few ways in which you would look at it. And if you win the final game of a bad road trip, it allows you to be a little bit more optimistic when looking ahead of what's next. I mean, they face the reigning AL Cy Young winner, and they find a way to win. That doesn't make up for the 8 losses they had, all the bad performances they had. But, as you said, you go from what was going to be 6.5 back, getting swept back-to-back series. You're 8-15, and you're probably not feeling good about where this team is at. I mean, it's not even probably. You would not be feeling good about where you're at. And it's not to say that you should feel great about 9-14, but I did some digging into what's next for this team and when they could get going. Of their next 25 games, 22 of them will be against teams that are in 4th place or worse right now. They will see Colorado, a last-place team. They will see the White Sox before a last-place team. They will see the Rays, a last-place team. They will see a Baltimore team again that they took care of business with and just gave up 24 runs yesterday to Cincinnati Reds. The only team they will play that right now, which is kind of dumb to say with as early as it is in the season, they will face right now one team over 500 going into May 19th, which is against San Francisco. And Boston's the only team that would be, and that's at home.
Yeah.
So winning yesterday doesn't make you go, well, now they're fine. They're going to be fixed. But I will say that sometimes in baseball, you just need a gift. And yesterday they got one with Javi Baez's error at third base. Throwing against a guy you can't make an error on in Bobby Wood Jr. because he's going to go to second.
And you can't be casual.
Can't be.
When you field the ball, because it looked like Javi Baez was like, field it casual. Oh, bleep, that's right. That's Bobby.
Yeah.
I can't be casual. Now I got to get it over there. And luckily, Torkelson also did not handle the throw, although that was a difficult one because, one, it was an in-between hop, which you should make, but what added to the difficulty is that was back up towards the line when he knows Bobby's right there.
Yeah.
So his arm is reaching back towards the baseline where Bobby's running, and it ain't like it's, a Cecil Fielder or anything where you know that he ain't going to be there, so I'm good. Bobby's right there. He's passing your glove right as you're trying to short hop it at the baseline. It's a little more difficult of what went on, but luckily that's what happened, and the Royals took advantage of that.
And there's 2 moments that come to mind before a great stretch that Royals teams had. It was last year when Toronto was in town, and they got a gift when a ball went through Vladdy Jr.'s glove.
Just right through his glove.
And then I think the Royals won 7 in a row after that, and the offense was scuffling at that point. They couldn't scratch across anything. They weren't playing as poorly as this group is right now at the plate, but it was that gift where you go, man, we desperately needed that. And it wasn't a given they were going to score once Bobby got to second. It was, Salvi rips one to third, and then Baez bobbles it, but he gets him out this time. Then Mark Canha comes through, whereas the day before, Jonathan India has a leadoff hit, and you're down 2 runs, and you have the meat of your order coming up, and they don't even move him to third base. Like, that's what production you were getting for the majority of this road trip. And the other one that comes to mind was all the way back, and I want to say 2014. It was against Toronto again, and Jose Reyes had like an airmail throw with 2 outs, and Omar Infante was running, or maybe it was Salvi was running. The Royals rallied to win that game and then went on a stretch after that. So sometimes you need that well, we're not playing well,
Yeah.
but we're not going to come out and torch somebody for 8 runs or 24 like Cincinnati did yesterday.
So you were doing some digging. I did some digging as well, looking at last year at this time versus this year at this time. And 9-14, quite a difference from, last year when they were sitting at 14-10. And wrapping up, or it just played 2 games in a series against Toronto that they win or lose, either way. They were 1-1 at that point. But looking at those particular games with the Royals at this time, so in that time, the teams they played versus who they have played so far this year, the record of their opponents so far this year in 2025 is 79-71. It's a .523 winning percentage that they have played so far to a 9-14 record. Without playing the Royals, that group is a .512 winning percentage. So it's not, the 27 Yankees, but it's still an above 500 combination, even when they didn't play the Royals that are 5 games under 500. And if you look at it too, that only the 2 teams under 500 that they have played so far, Minnesota and Baltimore, they're 5-2 against those teams. The other teams that are better playoff teams, they're 4-12. Not great, Bob, but also there's a little context to it. Last year at this time, they had played 3 against Minnesota, 6 against Baltimore, 7 against the White Sox, 3 against the Astros, 3 against the Mets, and 2 against the Toronto Blue Jays. Minnesota was 8-13 in that stretch on April 21st. They were 8-13. The White Sox were 3-19 on April 21st. Baltimore was really good. Houston was 7-16 at that time. Like, they played some rough, bad teams. Toronto was 13-10. The Mets were 12-10. Obviously, more days off and things like that. They were sitting at 14-10 against teams that had a combined winning percentage of .452. And when they didn't play the Royals, the combined winning percentage was .431 against those teams. They went 6-1 against the White Sox. They went 4-2 against, or 2-4 against Baltimore. They swept the Astros, again, that were 7-16. And the Minnesota Twins were 8-13. They went 10-4 against Minnesota, Houston, and Chicago last year. At this time, okay? So a little context to what last year was at this time, when I do think it was acknowledged for the most part, right? Because even last year we were going, okay, now the schedule gets tough. Okay, now what do you do moving forward? You've played these teams that are really struggling. The Astros are struggling. The Twins are not playing like the Twins. The White Sox are a historically bad team. By the way, the Rockies are a historically bad team. So I gave you the record and the winning percentage of the teams they've played so far at 79-71, .523 winning percentage. The next 16 games, the teams that are combined right now, 37-59. This is where, if you are going to make hay, if you are going to catch up, if you're going to go on a stretch like you were talking about, Jack, if you're going to do that, these next 16 games are closer to what the first 24 games, 24 games were last year than what we've seen so far when this has been a rough stretch of 5 games under 523. This is the time. A week from now, considering who they play the next couple, we might be discussing, it's all drafted Chiefs moving forward. I mean, because obviously next Monday will be a lot of the draft, but if they can turn things around against Colorado, against Houston, under 500, and then at Tampa, a team that is under 500, then, you've got Tampa Bay's 9-13 right now. And they're not playing great baseball either. I mean, they've got a really fast player that they just called up in Chandler Simpson, who did break up the no-hitter against Max Fried, I think in real time, but they had to go back an inning later and change it from an error to a hit. But Sterling, we've done a little bit of digging there. I don't know if there's some positive to take away from yesterday for you.
Yeah.
Or if there's the pie in the sky, like, okay, here's context to what happened last year at this time. Or if that's just simply putting lipstick on a pig and trying to find silver linings along the way, that you're digging for anything to give yourself optimism over the next couple weeks.
Can he come through? Yes, he can.
Yes, he can. And I liked that tweet or text.
Who would have thought that Mark Canna would be the engine?
I would have liked to see Mark Canna the night before instead of Isbell, but that's just me. There was a righty on the mound, so there was no way in hell Q was going to go get a righty off the bench to face a righty when you got a lefty up there, even if the lefty might have been you, Sterling. Doesn't matter. But anyway, go ahead.
But I think there's something to him right now, which is crazy to say with the way Salvi's hitting. And I'm not even talking about his fielding, because I was beyond frustrated with him at first base. I know he made one great play, and people are out there going, well, Vinny's not good defensively. Vinny's actually graded out pretty darn well defensively. I don't know where this mindset of Vinny's a horrible defensive first baseman has come from, because all the metrics say he's at least average. So I don't get that. Salvador Perez is a really good catcher, great DH, not a good defensive first baseman. But Mark Canna is really carrying the load. He did before he got injured, and when he came back, he's been a lineup extender, and now he's batting fourth, again, at lefty on the mound. But you got to keep his bat in the lineup right now. And the thing with Michael Garcia that has me so enthused is it's not just what he's doing. You look at Baseball Savant, everything's red. This is sustainable. And
Red's good, by the way.
Red's very good. Not only is it sustainable, the numbers are actually scream that he's going to have some positive progression. That's where he's at right now. The walk rate for Michael Garcia is the most noticeable difference. Last year is 6.7%. This year it's 11%. He's seen a lot more pitches, a lot more walks. That swing, kind of slowing down that front leg, has helped so much. I'm back to believing in Drew Waters again, which is dumb. Every game, it's a game-by-game basis. One game I go, I can't stand this guy. I'm done. He broke my heart yet again.
Man, you hit a couple off the end of the bat, and they fall into short right field.
Yes.
You're a believer. That's all it takes
I'm a
for you.
believer. It doesn't take – well, because it's better than MJ Melendez, who was sent down, or better than Hunter Renfroe, who still can't do anything. So for that reason alone, I'm like, I guess I'll take Drew Waters because he's better than the other options we currently have or we're witnessing. I guess my biggest takeaway was if I was a Detroit Tigers fan, I would be so sick of Javier Baez. Not only did he have the error with Bobby Witt Jr., but then Salvador Perez hit him one. He bobbled it and nearly had another error.
Some great scoop in between hot by Torkelson.
Like that, no one
in the heel, man.
No one looks like he hates baseball more than Javier Baez. Like even at the plate, he just goes up there going, "Well, I got my money." Like I guess that'd be the most frustrating thing. That was my big takeaway.
It was Javier Baez.
It was Javier Baez and how irritated I'd be if I was a Detroit Tigers fan. But also Schreiber getting it done.
Yeah.
1 2/3. Carlos 2 innings getting it done. Daniel Lynch had his worst outing as a reliever.
Although again, I think
it wasn't all his fault.
Wasn't done any favors there with the defense behind him. But
I guess my big takeaway is Mark Canna and Michael Garcia I believe in. I still have a lot of questions about Salvador Perez and Vinny. Those two guys need to get hot or else this lineup's still not going to do anything. We're talking about look at the offensive explosion, and it was 4 runs.
Hey, you know
and
what?
it took extras.
They got to 4 and they won. I mean, you get 4 runs for this team, they are going to win. So a number of things still to take away from that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. MJ Melendez sent down, as you talked about. Estevez went 2 innings, and while it's been nip-tuck a couple times, like, knock on wood, he's more than, held up his end of the bargain on the deal that they signed him for. And you can look at that being a big part as to if this team gets back into contention. Again, they're 4.5 out. If this team goes on a run, there's a lot of 9-14 stretches that teams will have across the season. It's just these are the only data points we have to go off of in this 9-14 first 23 games. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about that. Urseg was available last night. Q saying they were going to do whatever they could to not pitch him, but if they got into later innings, he was available to go out there and pitch. That's good, especially with another day off today, and then you get back into it, that another day of rest for Urseg. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. Blue Hills coming up. Field Yates at 11 o'clock. Cynthia Freeland at 11:30. Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer, 1 o'clock. Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour as well. Tonight, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, NBA playoffs, Clippers, Nuggets game number 2. We got that for you right here on Sports Radio 810 at WHB. Talking some Royals here in the first hour. MJ sent down Mark Canha, who was, on the IL, and we wondered, what would they do? Would they send MJ down? That home run we thought earned him a couple more weeks, right? He had a home run. He's got 2 or 3 more weeks with the Royals. That wasn't the case. They keep Drew Waters up at the big league club and decide that MJ Melendez, he needs to be sent down.
Do we like that? Show of hands. It's a radio show, so no one can see us. Show of hands?
Yeah, I'm totally good with
Wasn't that thing working?
Oh yeah, we got the camera on.
Yeah.
So we all four like
yay and nay.
No.
Okay.
I was making a joke.
Thumbs up or down, guys.
I love
Okay,
doing,
there we go. We've all voted.
I love doing physical bits on an audio medium. It's kind of my thing.
Makes total
So
sense.
all 4 of us, by the way, raised our hands.
Let's go with raised.
Raised our hands that we like Drew Waters staying over MJ Melendez.
Yeah. It's not that I like Waters over Melendez. It's that Melendez needs to figure some things out. He can't be at the big league club what he's offering right now, and Drew Waters is offering better at bats than MJ and putting the ball in play more than MJ. So it's not that you're choosing, Juan Soto over MJ Melendez. It's, making the best of a bad hand, and what's the best possible solution? Well, MJ, you're pressing and trying to figure out a new swing at the big league level. Probably not the best place for you. Go down to Omaha, figure some things out, work it out, and then hopefully we'll see you back up here.
I feel this was almost all about, obviously the numbers back it up when you're hitting 085, but this had to have been a confidence thing where you can definitely tell that he was pressing. I mean, a lot of those at-bats, they were not competitive whatsoever. The swing didn't look as good as it did in spring training. And it also sends a little bit of a message where if you're Drew Waters, not that he's playing phenomenally, but if you are a AAA guy and you're coming up and you say, well, I don't care, or they don't care if I hit 300 or 350, not that Drew Waters was, but they're going to keep the guy who's hitting 085 over me. So if they would have sent Waters back down, kept MJ, you're kind of sending that message of, hey, it doesn't really matter what you do. We believe in this guy a little bit more, which, hey, that's baseball. It's a business. But to me, this is about getting right, getting the confidence up. However, the harsh reality is there's a world in which he goes down there and doesn't hit. And then now you've got the confidence even lower where, man, I can't even figure it out in AAA. But, hopefully he does go down there and hit the ball really hard and get the confidence back up and tweak a few things. Because I still believe that the best version of this Royals team needs someone off the bench with pop from the left side. And I'm not sure anybody else in the organization in Kansas City or AAA right now could fill that void from the left side. Not Nick Prado, not John Rave, not Drew Waters. MJ's got the home run potential, but right now you're hitting 085, you just can't stick around in the big leagues.
I mean, this team isn't a home run hitting team. And so it's like, this team is a guy that may not bat all that well, but man, can he run into one every once in a while? That's not what this team needs. They need guys that can simply put the bat on the ball, get on base, pass the baton, because people aren't hitting extra base hits. Like, it is. Look, we can get into the conversation, and people will continue to have it about Zumwalt, about the hitting coach, and does the hitting coach tweak swings, or is he a guy that's just simply preparing the scouting report of what this guy has versus what you bring to the table, and this is how we're going to approach this guy? What is the overall role for the hitting coach? It is odd and troubling that the Royals can be both dead last in home runs and number one in launch angle in Major League Baseball. Like, out of all teams to be number one in launch angle, you wouldn't expect it to be the Royals that don't have a lot of home run hitters, many, if any, outside of one in Salvi, guys that are just, hey, this guy's going to hit a home run. Anytime he's at the plate, he's got potential to hit it 450, all right, to clear the bases. And you play at Kauffman Stadium. So why are the Royals leading in launch angle this year? Why is Isbell still swinging a loopy swing, getting under everything still, with his launch angle? Why is Renfroe, one of his highest launch angles of his career this year? Why are all these guys with career high launch angles? India, why are these guys with career high launch angle in the first 23 games for a team that does not hit home runs and should be line drives? If ground balls, if anything, whatever, just pop-ups and fly balls ain't doing it because they don't have the power to drive it. There's some questionable things. Although, hey, 23 games in, is this a stretch where 23 games in, they'll have a 17, degree angle, launch angle that will be number one in baseball over a 23-game stretch, and that thing will float around. It makes no sense at this point to be dead last in home runs and number one in launch angle. And maybe that's, one of the reasons why is this is a team that is not going to be launching a bunch of home runs 450. They're going to be line driving home runs if they get out more than anything. So that certainly is troubling, but I don't know if that's just the magic fix of, drop the launch angle a little bit. You're not going to be able to do that overnight. But there's got to be something for the offense. And I do appreciate Q trying to find a spark, because Vinny batted the lowest in the order of his entire career.
Seventh, right? Yeah,
seventh. The lowest he had ever batted was fifth. And that's when he first came up with the big league club. They didn't want to put him at number 3 or number 4 in his first couple of weeks. He was batting fifth. And then they put him at seventh, moving some things around. I don't know if it's correlation causation.
Well, who had the RBI? Who was batting fourth? Where normally Vinny bats.
Third.
I guess, he bats third. But still, they moved Salvi third. But either way, they moved Mark Hanna up, and who came through with an RBI?
Yeah, he's 2 for 4 with an RBI. Garcia was 2 for 3 with a run scored.
Batting fifth.
Yeah.
And a walk.
Yeah.
By the way, I will say about Zumwalt, I'm not trying to give him any credit because he deserves a lot of criticism right now, I think. But let's be real, Michael Garcia's switch, doesn't he deserve a lot of credit for the evolution, or at least the resurgence?
Especially when, and this is where the context is needed too, especially when Michael Garcia was in Kansas City working with Zumwalt specifically on his swing, whereas Vinny and his increased bat swing is working out in Florida.
Yeah.
These guys are working out with their own specific hitting coaches and training facilities. Michael Garcia typically back in Venezuela, where he's, spending the winter, spent it more in Kansas City around Alex Zumwalt, and that swing is different. So I do think there's something to be said for that he's around, Zumwalt and that swing that they attacked of not crashing, staying back, let the ball travel a little bit more, get back to more of that incredibly flat swing. Hey, Kyle, maybe look at Michael, what he's doing with his swing that stays in the strike zone, it seems like, for 3.5 minutes every single swing, as opposed to Isbell that will maybe luckily loop one up with a round bat against a round ball and maybe square it up if you can do that while swinging straight for the sky. Maybe you can hit a line drive from time to time with that.
But he had 9 walks, 13 strikeouts for Michael Garcia with that flat swing, OPS in 770. Kyle Isbell, 1 walk, 16 strikeouts, OPS in 567 again. I don't know if it's fair to use both those guys as comps, but right now, both are kind of platooning in center field. Michael's playing second base and third, and played right field the other day, which was I'm glad to see. But
Well, the frustration also happens when you try to ambush a pitcher with the first pitch. You work so hard to get back in the game, work hard to get back in the game. That inning, you get Tolbert at first, and you're like, all right, maybe he can steal second, get you, tying run there. And the first pitch, you just pop straight up. Just pop straight up. Like, there's the frustration that goes along with that, too.
I couldn't believe that. Bad on Saturday. I mean, it's one thing to watch a meatball go by and everybody goes, oh, come on, you got to swing at that. To me, it purely comes down to who's at the plate. Like, if Bobby Wood Jr. was up and he swung first pitch into the exact same thing, I'm going, I'll live with it. Yes, I would love to see Tolbert get to second, but Bobby can actually run into one and drill one into the gap or hit a home run.
And if it's in the gap, Tolbert's scoring from first anyway. So, I'm good with that.
I felt there were too many hitters that were struggling, and even though, 2-0 is a hitter's count, and if you get a fastball down the middle, you should swing. But, man, when the offense was scuffling, it frustrated me how many times you had guys 2-0 swing and pop up or ground out. You go, there are a few guys in this lineup, I say green light 2-0 or 3-0 or 3-1. When you're trying to get the offense going, you need to see more pitches. And for some guys in the lineup, they're doing that. For others, not so much.
Yeah, you had Drew Waters 10 pitch at bat to draw the walk on Saturday. Fermin 6 pitch at bat to single up the middle. Isbell first pitch, fastball, pops it straight up. And that's the point. It's like, it's a fastball. And how are you getting that under it? Well, because, you're trying to launch it. Can I get a 50-degree? Whatever. Just at this point, it's just sort of complaining to complain about Isbell. We sort of know who he is. But I did want to point out real quick, and then we'll take a break and talk to Rick Amos. And we'll get into this with Joel Penfield coming up at noon as well. Is that the deal for Carlos Estevez? There was some questioning the deal as to why you bring in another bullpen arm when you could have, when you need that money to go and get an outfield bat. They tried for Santander, but how much different does this team look without Estevez and with Jurix and Profar?
It'd be bad.
It wouldn't be great.
Who'd be closing out games right now with Harvey and Erceg getting banged up?
Right. It would have been Schreiber maybe yesterday, and you needed Schreiber earlier. Maybe it's Daniel Lynch. I don't know.
Dylan Michaels.
It could be Dylan Michaels. Bring the righty out there, man. Let's go. He's got that split finger. You're not messing with it, right? Didn't he throw a split finger? Yeah? Yes. Got it right. Nailed it, man.
Jason listens.
Take that, Jack. Huh? Why don't you split over to Wichita, buddy?
I will.
You don't have to give me the finger there, Dylan. I'm going to break, okay? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk with Rick Amos coming up next. Amos, as the Advent Health Championship is getting here closer and closer around the corner. You know, it was beautiful last week, not so much this weekend. And I'm expecting it to be beautiful the weekend of 18th, 15th, and really the 12th through the 18th there at Blue Hills Country Club. Rick Amos joining us. Rick, what's up, man? How are you?
Oh, excited. We hate rainy weekends, but we need rain right now for the golf course.
Yeah, there you go.
Good weekend now, a good week of sun. I think some things are really going to pop out at Blue Hills, so
Yeah.
we're excited.
I would have appreciated to have more of the Easter egg hunt outside with the kids instead of hiding them around the house. But you know what? We made do and made the best of it, and they enjoyed the Easter egg hunt around the house. But you're right. The golf course needs a little rain. My grass didn't need that much rain, so it's all good here.
If your kids want to go on an Easter egg hunt, what we can do is they can go out golfing with me and help try and find my balls because I've been struggling.
There you go.
So
was that on Sunday?
that was on Saturday.
Okay, well, they needed it on Sunday, Sterling.
Well,
okay.
I could
They
have
had
given
it-
an early Easter present.
You could have more than one.
Yeah, they could have-
Multiple Easters.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Rick Amos is our guest. There's a lot of things that I want to talk to you about, but this just popped into my head. As golfers, do you see that picture over the weekend of the ball that was laying almost in the cup, but there was a stick that was there, and it was a tee shot on 3, and it was laying in, but the stick had stopped it from going fully in. And the question was, all right, dude, is this a hole-in-one? Like, this guy hits this shot. Do you give him a hole-in-one? Or you move the twig and your ball moves, that's a penalty. Or
So-
if you mark your ball and put it back down and it moves, then...
It was actually a twig. It wasn't the pin.
No,
it was a twig.
It was a twig
I
that
did not
was...
see it.
I believe the rule book says that is a hole-in-one. I believe the rule book says...
Here you go, Rick. There's the picture.
Wow.
Now,
because
one,
it's a
one person did say, I count it as a hole-in-one, and then I have words with the groundskeeper, with the grounds crew. That's got to be the most unfortunate thing ever, because obviously it had to be rolling pretty slow to get there to then stop like that. But still, it just randomly popped into my head as you guys were talking about.
I would think if you move the twig and the ball falls in, it's a hole in one.
Well,
right?
then you're not allowed to move because then
It
it moves the ball. But I do believe I think we looked it up and it came down to yes, that is technically a hole in one.
You did look it up. I had no idea because
There's a lot of back and forth on it.
30,000 rules that are probably
I
there.
thought you were going to ask about Justin Thomas getting a penalty for an impediment.
Yeah.
but no,
Well, what do you
went
think
that way.
about Justin Thomas and the?
Hey.
You know what? He found a way to get a victory, though.
He did.
It's been 3 years.
Big time.
Sterling. I was a week early. I had some money on Justin Thomas to finish in the top 10 and top 5 at the Masters. Felt like his game was rounding into form. I missed on him last week, but you know what?
Easy come, easy go.
Did you feel bad for Joel Damon?
I did.
yes,
I
you
did.
do,
How do you
right?
not root for that guy? Love that guy, especially if you watched Full Swing. You just gotta love that guy.
And
But
him
yeah.
with Harry Higgs too,
Yeah.
the previous Advent Health Championship
Yeah.
winner.
Yeah.
But Joel Damon bogey to finish, and then misses a
1 footer.
one footer. I mean,
yes,
Yeah.
it's rough.
It's
Not sure how you bounce back from that.
Golf
but,
is hard. That's for
yeah,
sure.
it is.
Golf is hard.
Harry Higgs had one of the best finishes in the Advent Health Championship last year at Blue Hills. We're getting closer and closer, Rick. Do you feel it? Would you like the time to slow down or speed up and get here because the excitement around it?
I think at this point we need a little bit of time, but we don't have it, so
Yeah.
we're ready. We're ready-ish, and we'll really be ready here in a few weeks. We've got the on-course build of our tents and everything is going on right now. They actually called me and they want to start building on 18 today, and they said, "Can you come out and confirm spots?" And I'm like, "Actually, I'm not at the course right now. I'll be there in a little bit." But yeah, we are excited. Our team is ready. We have a lot of new and exciting things going on this year. We've got a lot of new and exciting things that I think to tease a little bit over the next month to 2 months we'll be announcing that we're not quite ready to talk about today. But there are some big things in the future for the Advent Health Championship, which is, when Advent Health took ownership of the event and became the host organization, they wanted to elevate this event. And we'll be announcing some things over the next couple months that are definitely going to elevate the event. So
That the event will be staying in Kansas City for a
well,
while.
we're already there through 29,
I know.
but
we need professional. I think this city deserves a number of different tournaments, and the last thing I would want to do is lose this one in Kansas City because it's too good of a golf community to not have more events. This is a great one.
You're exactly right, and there's been rumblings about potentially LPGA event and stuff like that, and it's certainly something that Advent Health we want to be involved in everything golf landscape because this is a tremendous community, a tremendous sports community, a very active community, and golf is certainly a very important part of that. So,
has anyone ever gotten? I don't know because I know Blue Hills does not have their holes marked.
This is where Sterling is asking how he can play Blue Hills, but go ahead.
I used to work there, Jason.
I know.
he knows the guy.
I used to. Well, I know Rick. He's gonna get me on there. No, I used to work there.
Yeah.
Come on, I was in the.
I'm familiar with
I
it.
was picking balls, baby. Clean picks.
There you go.
On Mondays.
Nice.
There's actually a rumor we may have a robot picking balls on the range
Seriously?
this year.
I didn't know I was gonna be there.
Yeah, right.
The robot.
I
yeah.
get it. See how you played it.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Sterling? Sorry to interrupt.
Has anyone? Because they don't have the holes marked at Blue Hills, right? That's kind of their whole shtick was if you know, you know. So 14, the whole back 9. Anyone ever getting confused on the with the Advent Health there?
Yeah, so the probably our Pro-Am days, the one spot where you get confused because number 12, you naturally would go to the tee box that you see right beside the green.
Yes.
That's actually number 16. You actually have to go down. So we actually have signage.
Okay, you have signage.
Okay.
That was my point. Was I was wondering if anyone had ever gone from 12 to 13 or 12 to 16 because.
When you're a private club like that, and then you bring guests out and stuff like that, typically you're with a member, so you know. But in the Pro-Am setting, yes, we've actually had that before where someone skipped 13, 14, 15, and went right from 12 to 16.
I figured.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I just wanted to check on that. Yeah.
we now have signage.
Yes, Rick Amos is our guest. Now, field getting set, getting closer. You guys have some exemptions that are ready to be in this tournament?
Yeah, so we're really excited. Honestly, I love my job, but one of the things I don't like about my job is exemptions, just from the fact that you have to give out a lot of no's because golf is a very competitive sport, it's very limited. So what we've tried to do, over the last few years is really tie back to the community. So we're announcing today our 4 exemptions. The one partnership we have with Central Links Golf is the Tom Watson Challenge. And so we were fortunate, and last year the winner was Joseph Winslow. He is a Kansas City kid. I think he was a 3-time state champion at Aquinas. Started at the University of Iowa, ironically, went to somewhere down South Florida to play, but he won the Watson Challenge, so he'll be in our field. And then we're really excited to announce Nicholas Mason, K-State senior, great young gentleman, young man. I think we think he's going to do some really special things in the golf world, and he's actually, I think, competing in Big 12 championships this week.
Yeah.
But he will
Southern
be back.
Hills.
Yes. So he'll be back. We're excited to have Nicholas. He's a Mill Valley kid, so maybe you can ask Schaefer this afternoon if he knows anything.
Nicholas and Nicholas, baby.
Oh yeah, Nicholas and Nicholas. You got to get him on the. Maybe we can reach out and get Nicholas Mason on the air the next couple days.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
it'd be great. Great young man. So those are our 2 unrestricted exemptions, and then we're bringing 2 individuals into play in the tournament. That are restricted exemptions, both past champions on the PGA Tour, Korn Ferry Tour. Curtis Thompson, you may recognize the last name, but Curtis won in Chicago a couple years ago, and then a young gentleman that helped, I think, kind of get good golf, was with good golf early on. Andrew Kozan will be our other exemption. So we're excited. We think they all have an opportunity to compete and do very well in the event. And as well as, we look at social media, we look at local crowds that can potentially come out. So, Nicholas being a Western Shawnee kid, Lake Rivera, K-State, certainly I think we'll have a very large contingent out there following him. So we're excited about it.
Show up. Wildcats, K-Staters need a packet.
Catbackers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is awesome there. And again, when I talk about the community around here and the golf tournaments, does it happen every year to where exemptions you can make sure that there's some local connection, or does it work out to where both of these guys are clearly deserving of that and they happen to be guys from Kansas City that can represent the area.
So we have a lot of really, I mean, you mentioned Harry, but certainly Gary Woodland, Tom Watson's been around forever. I'm going to forget names, but we have so much talent in golf in this community. So it has worked out well for us the last few years. The part I mentioned about not liking about my job, there are some really, really good professional golfers and potentially professional golfers in this market that requested exemptions into the tournament. And certainly, we only have 4, so you can't give them to everyone. So that's what's hard, is because you have to tell people no. It's a sales thing. You got to say no, but there is a Monday qualifier for them to have an opportunity to get in. I should mention Harry Hillier will also be in our field this year. He has Korn Ferry status and is currently playing well on the Korn Ferry Tour. His brother Charlie has played the last couple times, both KU golfers. So Harry, so we've got some really good local talent in the field. So we're excited about this year.
I will say, if you need a 5th, just for fun, you can add a 5th. I'll allow it.
Yeah, Dylan.
Pros versus Joe style. I'll do it.
How nice of him to offer
someone
services
needs
up.
to do it, so I'll show what it's like to play these courses.
No, take one for the team. That's very nice.
Someone
of you.
has to.
You know what you could do? You could play in the Monday qualifier and try and qualify. That's what you should do.
You actually should.
I've heard rumors about this going around the city with radio personalities. So I don't know.
What's the cost for him to get in that Monday qualifier?
I'd have to connect you with our friends at the Midwest section, but probably $500-600.
Me and Jason.
I need a sponsor.
Me and Jason will cover that.
Yeah,
I need a
let's go.
sponsor. If someone gives me a sponsor, I will do the Monday qualifier. I will feel horrible for the other guys in my group, as I'm going to be behind some trees probably.
Maybe you have the round of your life.
You know what? We'll talk offline, because there might be an opportunity for you to play the course as it's set. Maybe not in the Monday qualifier, but maybe after the round is complete.
That'd be
There you
great.
go.
That'd be very.
As long as it was after the show, that'd be really cool.
It would definitely be after the show. It would definitely be after.
Tee off right around 3 o'clock or so, because Sterling's like, is that tee time about 11:15? I really can't do the first hour. Tee's at 11:15. What do you want me to do? This is for the show, Jason. Okay.
It's for the kids too.
It is for the kids.
It's for the kids.
By the way, just seeing that Nicholas Mason's first name is Nicklaus.
Yes.
I didn't realize that, but that's badass. So
Yes,
he
it
didn't
is.
have a choice, right?
No,
he had no choice but to play golf and be good at it. You can't be bad at golf if that's your first name.
Yeah,
You have no choice.
There is certainly a plan. I've heard that his. I don't know his parents. I've met his parents, but I do know that they are a very avid golf family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I will meet his parents soon, I'm sure.
There you go. Very good. Rick Amos with the Advent Health Championship. Anything else you wanted to get out there before we let you go as we're getting closer?
We still have hospitality. We still need volunteers. We are, we're in a great. We've still got some women's. We've got a Women's Day on Monday, sponsored by UMB Private Wealth, and we've still got a couple Pro-Am teams available. Pro-Am team left on Wednesday. I think we've got one spot, but a lot of hospitality tickets available. Go online, AdventHealthChampionship.com. Check us out. We'd love to have everybody out supporting all of our local golfers, but also supporting professional golf and professional golf here in this community.
Love it.
So.
Cannot wait. It's one of my favorite weeks because we get to go out there and watch some of the tournament be in a beautiful spot and work. I'm using air quotes. there on the golf course.
That was my favorite probably event last year. I mean, it was amazing. It was a beautiful day when we went too.
I think we're having you out on Thursday. We look forward to having you guys out.
Cannot wait. Rick, you're the man. Appreciate it as always.
Thank
brother.
you guys for your time. Appreciate
We'll catch up again before this tournament gets rolling as well. Advent Health Championship, May 12th through the 18th. And congratulations to a couple of local guys with their exemptions, Joseph Winslow and Nicholas Mason. We will take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll switch gears. We'll talk NFL draft. Field Yates from ESPN, our NFL insider. We'll talk with him coming up on the next segment. And then later on in the hour, we will talk with Cynthia Freeland from NFL Network. So a packed 11 o'clock hour coming up next. That's right. It is draft week coming up Thursday night. We've got it all for you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Soren Petro, Curtis Seabolt, Mark Bowrichter. They will be hosting the draft show and the Chiefs with a late pick as of right now. Let's talk about the draft and things going into this with our NFL insider from ESPN, Field Yates, joins us here in the zone. Field, how are you, sir?
Jason, I'm doing well. Good to catch up with you. It's been a couple of months. Hope they have been going well for you. And I'm fired up that football is right back under the microscope this week for the big draft, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Absolutely love it. It never goes away around here, as you can imagine, even with the Royals and the optimism of this year. But it is always on the back burner or the front burner, whichever, for the Chiefs and the draft. I'm just curious, what's your role on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, for the draft coverage? What are we going to be seeing with Field Yates?
Thursday and Friday, for those that want to watch the ABC broadcast, I will be there, which obviously means rounds 1, 2, and 3. And then on Saturday, be over on the ESPN broadcast from, I believe, local time. It's 11 to 6, so noon to 7 Eastern, and the big day of those who love the draft. I know you love the draft.
Yes.
Love day 3, because that is where oftentimes the strength of rosters, or maybe the depth of rosters, are built. So we'll have a great time on Saturday and hopefully find some hidden gems.
Yep. Field Yates is our guest from ESPN. What do you make of this draft? It feels like, going into a draft, there's a question of what it'll be known for, remembered by. And every year, there are some things that people will look at. So often it's colored by what do the quarterbacks look like in a specific draft, but maybe that's going to be this one because of Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders and the names that are there, and Jackson and Tyler Shuck. But how do you think this draft will be viewed and looked at, or how do you view it and look at it before we see these names and picks come off the board?
I think that's a good way of putting it. Every draft will have a quarterback summary to it. So I think that this year's draft will be defined by a quiet night one on the quarterback front, unless you consider a quarterback sliding a noisy story, which it might end up being. I suppose if it's Shadur Sanders and he's still on the board past pick 3, which I believe he will, and past pick 9, which I think he will be. And then I think where things get really fascinating for night one in this draft is pick number 21, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, as of right now, do not have Aaron Rodgers under contract. It certainly seems like there is some mutual interest, but until a deal is done, that is an unpredictable part of the equation. If Shadur Sanders gets past the Steelers at number 21, all of a sudden the night has a different tenor to it. So the quarterback is one part of just the quarterback storyline are one way of categorizing the draft. But I also think that we have sort of overall themes that we can discuss, and part of them are tied to what happened last year. Not that last year's draft means everything for this year's draft, but it is certainly a notable data point that is recent enough that a lot of us have the 2024 NFL draft fresh on our mind. Whereas last year's draft was chock full of blue-chip players, especially offensive blue-chip players. As we know, it wasn't until the Colts at pick 15 that we saw a defensive player go off the board last year. This year is a lot of depth. You're going to see a lot of third-round picks that teams may tell you, well, I guess they wouldn't tell us explicitly, but players that go in the third round, that scouts, coaches, executives throughout the process have thought, my team sees him as more of a fifth-round player. Vice versa. There are going to be some players that end up in round 5, and some GM is going to go, man, we had this guy in the third round on our board. I don't know how he is still here in round 5. But as you know, the further you get away from the first overall pick or the first overall player on your board, the more variance there is from team to team. So it is more of a strength and numbers draft than it is a star at the top type of draft. I have believed throughout this process, there are 2 players that are kind of in a single tier at the very top by themselves. No surprise there. It's Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. I could make a case for a next tier of 2 more players in Ashton Genty and also Mason Graham. But beyond that, it's hard to find a player at a premium position that the league at large says to itself, we believe this player absolutely, unequivocally, in every single draft year would be a lock-it-in top 7 to 10 player. There are some very good players, and obviously 10 guys are going to have to go in the first 10 picks, but if you put Will Campbell in last year's draft class, I think he's probably offensive tackle 3 as an example. Or if you take some of these pass rushers and put them in prior drafts, not named Abdul Carter, they might be more like pick 12 as opposed to potentially pick 7 or 8. So it is a different year this year, not compared to last year, but also some recent draft classes that have had much more strength at the top of those quarterbacks.
Yeah, Brett Veach on Thursday talked about how, years past, they typically have, anywhere from 17, 18. I went back and listened to last year's pre-draft press conference. He said there was around 18 to 21 first-round grades. Like, he doesn't know the exact number of first-round grades they have. I do like that. It's about, last time I checked, it was about 18 to 21, really, last time I checked, Brett. He is pretty candid, but I do appreciate that. I do find that sort of funny. But this year, he said, 12 or 13, something around there, that they are fewer. But he said, what that means is that, after those guys, there's a bigger group of players that fill in that, rank 14 to 100 as opposed to the 18 to 21 that were last year. And I do wonder, Field, when there's a draft like this, and I guess in theory it would be up to each individual team what they were looking for, but is it better if a draft has fewer true first round grades to say, we're going to go and get a difference maker, and if it means we have to trade some picks to do that, we're going to go and get a difference maker that there are less of this year? Or, you know what, it's better to trade back and let other teams take those, 13, 14 picks or whatever, and we're going to get more of the bulk this year. Is there more value in getting one of the 13 that are true difference makers, or in a draft like this to getting, maybe 2 for 1 of some depth pieces as opposed to a true first-round grade?
So I think if I'm the Chiefs, they are a little bit different than some of the other contenders. If I'm Buffalo or Detroit or Baltimore, teams that have been on the precipice but haven't gotten over the hump with their great quarterbacks or great rosters, you're saying to yourself, you know what? I'm going for the big dog, and I'm finding whoever it is. Like, I am going to find that difference maker, because if we win one championship, even if we are bereft of draft capital and our depth is tested in a couple of years, we got that Lombardi trophy. You never have to say sorry for winning a title. For the Chiefs, they already know what the reality is of being highly successful multiple years in a row. It's that you're going to have to make some difficult decisions and part ways with guys like Joe Tooney, right? Or in prior off seasons, trading away Tyreek Hill or trading away L'Jarius Sneed. Obviously, they've been able to more than handle the losses, but it also means that they know, like, that's not stopping anytime soon, right? Like, they're going to be successful for a long time, and they've got players that are deservedly under contract for big money. They're going to have to continue to nail the draft. So I'd be more inclined to chip away at the depth of this class, because I do think that, hey, yeah, obviously it's exciting when you can get a guy who's one of the top 10 or 12 players in this draft class, but for the Chiefs to realistically get one of those guys, moving up from 30 to even if a guy makes it to 15, I mean, what's that costing you? It might cost you, a lot of your draft capital this year. Or if some team says we want to dip into your draft capital for next year, there's just too much variance in that I would be more of the mind of, hey, let's just continue to build what we have, because we really think the floor for our roster is already so high every single year, and we think the ceiling is pretty darn high too, right? I mean, the only team in league history to go to 5 Super Bowls in 6 seasons, we always have to be mindful of balancing our short and long-term needs.
Field Yates is our guest, and Brett Veach said that, that, hey, if one of the guys is there, then, yeah, we certainly would look at an opportunity to be aggressive. But he also said, if one of those guys is there in the 20s, then he didn't say, if somebody's there at 15 or 16. I mean, they made a major move to go up and get Trent McDuffie in 2022, but they had like 10 picks with that Tyreek Hill trade that they could go and maneuver the board a little bit, and so they could afford to move up from 28, 29, whatever that was, up to 21 to get McDuffie.
21, yeah.
And yeah, he was there. He wasn't supposed to be there. They couldn't believe he was there. All right, let's be aggressive. But he also said if somebody gets to the 20s, which doesn't sound like 20, 21, 22 to me. That sounds 25, 26, 27. And maybe if they really like an offensive tackle, it might be 24 to get ahead of Houston, since the Texans will probably be taking an offensive lineman of some sort, and maybe they think Houston might take their guy, and it might be worth it to move from 31 to 24 and give up whatever it takes if there's somebody there at tackle that they really, really like. But I'm more in favor of the Chiefs trading back and getting more picks, because they don't have a whole lot this year. They've got 4 in the top 100, and so that's good with the L'Jarius Sneed trade that they got that early third rounder. But is this a year? And Brett Veach joked and said, every year people are like, people are going to trade up late in the first round to get a quarterback with the fifth-year option. Well, this is the year that happens. And he's like, it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in a long time. So, like, people calling us to trade up into the first round, he's like, I think he said it's been like 4 or 5 years since they've gotten, multiple calls to trade back. He's like, it just doesn't happen the way that people think in these draft rooms. Is there this year then maybe a team that might be looking to trade back into the first round if the Saints don't like Shedeur at number 9, if they sit at number 40 and say, all right, he's there at 31, we didn't get him at 9, we've got a couple of seconds, couple thirds, let's move up, or a couple thirds, couple fourths, whatever it is with the Saints, let's move up at 31. Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart, is this a year maybe that we could see a team looking to move back into the first round to get the fifth-year option on a quarterback that it might be more conducive than in years past for the Chiefs to trade back?
Yeah, I'm working on my final mock draft as of right now, and did not have any trades, including those at the back end of the process in my initial run of it, which I know it's subject to change. I can change it until about Wednesday afternoon, and then the editors from ESPN.com say, all right, no more fussing around. Let's just get this mock draft on the website by tomorrow morning. Because I think Brett's point is well taken. We talk about it a lot, but how much we've actually seen it in practice, I think, is a different part of the conversation. The Ravens famously did it with Lamar Jackson. But, even the Ravens, I think, would have to admit they had some reservations on Lamar, right? I mean, if they were so sold on him, they wouldn't have bypassed him for Hayden Hurst earlier in that draft, right? So it takes a pretty unique set of circumstances for a team to not be willing to take a quarterback earlier in the draft and then taking them later in the first round, especially because every team has its pick this year. It's not like, hey, if New Orleans didn't have number 9 and, hey, they're really desperate to get up into the end of the round 1 because it would be their only pick so far in the proceedings, maybe it has a little bit more weight to it. But I do think you're calculating it correctly. It may not be, or maybe Brett is, may not be as likely. But there might be some teams, like where I could see it happening is while there are players that will be good players into round 2, there are some teams that I think are at the top of the second round that are trying to get better in a relative hurry. The Patriots are always a team that I think of in this category based on how they have spent this offseason, right? They had, 4 wins last year, and it's not like this roster right now is ready to make a deep playoff run, but they may say to themselves, hey, if we get an offensive tackle at 4 and there's a wide receiver that we can't let risk we can't risk having him be taken at 36 when we're picking at 38 or wherever they are. Maybe you call up to Kansas City or Philadelphia, who you figure are willing to play ball and move down those 7-8 spots to get to their preferred target. The fifth-year option is a bonus, but it's more about beating others to the punch. The Tennessees of the world, whoever else at the top of the draft, the second round, the Giants and the Browns and some of these teams that might have interest in those same prospects. So I think there will be some level of a market, but I certainly wouldn't call it a guarantee. I think probably if you gave me the option to say the Chiefs pick at 31 or don't, I certainly lean towards picking at 31.
Yeah, I do too. Field Yates from ESPN is our guest. I don't see – I don't know. It'd have to take a player that they really don't expect her to be in the 20s and move up and take them, or somebody that they have a lot of conviction on to move up and take him. I know that Josh Simmons has been mocked to the Chiefs a lot at number 31. I think you had him to the Chiefs. Jordan Reed's his latest one has a Josh Simmons to the Chiefs as well at number 31. Is he a guy that if he's there at 27 or 28 that the Chiefs may get a little antsy and say maybe that fourth rounder that's there, they don't have a fifth and a sixth, maybe that fourth rounder is worth it to move up to 3 spots to go and take Josh Simmons if he's there at that spot. That might be the one that's talked about. But what do you see in Josh Simmons for the Chiefs? That he's the most popular pick to the Chiefs so far in all the mock drafts.
Yeah, so not only is Josh Simmons a logical target for the Chiefs are a logical landing spot for Josh Simmons for these reasons. Everybody who has listened to our coverage of the draft, everybody who loves the draft knows Josh Simmons coming off of a torn patellar tendon suffered in October. So you're going to have to be patient here, even though the medical reports have been encouraging since his surgery took place. But let's just be honest. There's a difference between return to play and return to performance are two very different metrics. So you just don't know exactly when you're going to get the same version that you had Josh Simmons prior to this injury. I I say that because the Chiefs can say, well, we signed a left tackle in free agency for 2 years and $30 million, which is reflective of a player that I think they believe can be their starter, but I don't think it's enough money that the Chiefs would say, hey, Jalen Moore, you're the guy, and we're not doing anything about it for the next couple of seasons. So Simmons is one of the harder players to find a spot for in a mock draft, not because he isn't great, but because he's coming off of a major injury that I'm just not a doctor, right? And every team is going to have a little bit different tolerance for what a patella tendon timeline is. And then also on top of that, how much he will look like his old self after a patella tendon. I'm not saying this is like a compromising injury every single time you see it. It's also not an ACL tear where we've gotten to the point where if a guy tears his ACL, it sucks, but you expect him to look like himself within 9 or 10, 11, 12 months, right? We have seen plenty of players come back and be their prior self after an ACL tear. So on Simmons, he's just an incredibly natural pass protector. The way that he moves his feet is effortless. He was excellent for Ohio State prior to that injury. He didn't allow a single pressure, much less a sack, prior to getting hurt back in mid-October. A guy who's played guard as well at the collegiate level, so some positional versatility, some legitimate pass protection skills. And for a quarterback who obviously is elite, but also a quarterback who's not afraid to kind of mix up where he ends up in the pocket, right? Patrick Holmes, one play might take 3 steps, one play might take 7 steps, one play he might take 7 steps and then dance around like those offensive linemen have to obviously hold up their end of the bargain for a prolonged period of time, like they do for any quarterback who can scramble. That is one of the realities of pass protection in the NFL these days. You got a mobile quarterback, it's great because he can get himself out of pressure, but he also usually holds on to the football longer, which means you got to find a way to do your job longer as well. So I think Josh Simmons would be really solid for the Chiefs if he somehow gets there to 31. But I'm starting to think more and more like he could be an early 20s type player with some teams that could use an offensive tackle, whether they're in the order right there right now or like Kansas City, they would be willing to move up a few spots to get a player of Simmons' caliber.
All right, a couple quick ones for you. I know you got to go, but Josh Simmons, you've got him ranked right behind Connerly in your top 200. Is that injury specific or?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Okay.
It's sort of hedging a little bit for a player that, you just don't know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah. And then last one, how many quarterbacks are taken in the first round?
I'm going to go with 2, I think. Okay. I think up to 2 is where I kind of have landed. So not totally certain it'll be 2, but I think I think 2 are possible. 1 is possible to me. 2, I think probably is where I land is most likely. 3 is also possible, but I land on 2 right now.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Field Yates from ESPN Field. Have some fun. Looking forward to the broadcast on ABC Thursday and Friday. Field Yates will be a part of that broadcast Saturday on ESPN. Field, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother, and look forward to catching up down the line.
Jason, thank you very much. Do well, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. You too. There's Field Yates. Great stuff from him, NFL Insider, as we have him on throughout the NFL season, and does a great job with the NFL draft. Has his latest top 200 rankings for the players in the draft, and number 28, Josh Connerly, Oregon, and number 29, Josh Simmons. And he also has his mock draft he thinks will be coming out, the last one, on Wednesday when they have to hit publish, and then that's it. You can't touch it again. But his most recent one has Simmons to the Chiefs. Jordan Reed this morning released his 7-round mock draft, which people are crazy. Chad Ryder at NFL.com also had a 7-round mock draft he put out over the weekend. Nuts. But he has Josh Simmons in his 7-round mock draft that he put out this morning, has Josh Simmons at number 31. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I don't know that he's going to be there at 31. So maybe it's Josh Simmons and the Chiefs, but it may not be at number 31. We'll find out. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll see what Cynthia Freeland thinks. NFL Network's Cynthia Freeland, analytics expert, but we'll get her thoughts on the NFL draft a few days away, where the Chiefs are at 31, what she thinks of this draft, the value in some of these picks, and the value in day 3. We'll get all of that with Cynthia Freeland coming up next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app,
the best of times with the Chiefs coming off the loss to the Eagles. But you know what? Turn the page on that. It's another year. It's been a fun. Cynthia, it's so bad around here that it's pretty depressing. The Chiefs did not win 3 straight Super Bowls. So
I'm sorry. I'm going to play a little tiny violin for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I need that to get over this, and I need the draft to help get over it as well. Cynthia Freeland is our guest. Cynthia, this has been a view of the draft, and it's always colored through the Chiefs' lens around here as we're looking at the draft and what they need and what the strengths are of this particular class. And every year it's described by, the quarterbacks as sort of the first part of it. But this year, defensive line is being talked about a lot. Running back is something that I really believe the Chiefs are going to come away with at least one. Brett Veach said there's a likelihood that one of our picks is a running back. Pretty good chance that one of these guys is on our roster. So, they're clearly looking at running back. That seems to be a position that's pretty deep. How do you view this draft, and is this a draft that's late first through third round is going to be the bulk of where you're getting your value? Is it going to be day 3 where you can find some guys? What's your view of this class this year?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. Now, I will say we always sort of judge whether or not we intend to, or it's just like our unconscious bias about quarterbacks determining the strength of the draft class. This isn't as strong of a quarterback or wide receiver draft as what we've had in recent years. So it feels like last year we set history, with how many quarterbacks were selected up top, and it felt like, whoa, like everything's different. And that's maybe not as that's not going to happen this year. And it's unlikely that we see even 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round period, full stop. So I don't think that this is a draft where this is a flavor draft. This is one where you're going to get the chance to see how good your scouting departments are, how well your team can construct their kind of what is a Chief. Can we execute against these objectives that we determine are those that define a Chief? And that's, or whatever, insert your team name there. Mm-hmm. So that's where you're going to see in this one. And it helps when you don't need a quarterback in this situation. Yeah. It helps when you don't necessarily, there's some really key pieces. It's good that you don't need to figure out which of the defensive front guys is going to be your anchor. You can have nice, great pieces to augment that. And there's some nice, it's a weird draft because there's old and there's young. And this is a weird, post-pandemic, now the transfer portal and NIL all at the same time, the confluence of, you see guys who are 27 years old and guys who are not even 21 yet. So it is a wild draft.
Yeah, the Chiefs are sitting there with 4 picks in the top 100, and I think that's a good spot to be. And Brett Veach had mentioned that they have 12 or 13 first-round grades on players. Last year was 18 to 21 that they had first-round grades, so obviously it's lesser than this year. But he also said that the pool of players that are in that next group is also bigger than what it had been and has been in years past. And I do wish this was like a 6 quarterback draft, because that would then push everybody else down to the Chiefs. That would be great.
That's right.
But
right.
that is not the case of the quarterbacks. There may be 1 or 2, maybe 3.
But those tight ends, you don't need a top tier tight end, and there's 3 of them in this class. So that could help.
Yeah.
It maybe doesn't come in the form you're used to, but it is a form no less, right? I think that helps.
Yeah, and I had said that I think there are definitely 5 positions the Chiefs will definitely not draft in the first round: quarterback, center, kicker, punter, and long snapper. I feel good about those 5 positions, Cynthia, that they will not take a draft pick in the first round. I think that's minus 7 million odds. So 7 million to win 100, but I'm not willing to go there.
Well, there you go.
And
all you need to do is acquire 7 million, and then you'll get your extra 100.
So I can win $100. Who wouldn't do that?
Line of credit.
Exactly.
Really big line of credit.
Name a bank that wouldn't give me $7 million line of credit just to simply bet on the first round of the draft. Who wouldn't do that? Visiting with Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network. As we look through the lens of the Chiefs and some of their needs, I thought it interesting that Brett Veach said the defensive line is a strength of this draft, but it's more anchored by the defensive end, the edge rushers. And I had heard so much about defensive tackle. So there may be a couple of ways of looking at it from that standpoint. If the Chiefs were to go defense, if the board sets up a certain way and the draft in the first round goes a certain way to where, all right, now defense is the spot for them. I do wonder if they look at it and go, okay, so if the defensive end makes up the strength of this defensive line, but there are some difference-making defensive tackles that once they're off the board, there may be a drop-off. Would that be more likely then to take a defensive tackle at 31 and come back around later in the draft at 66 and take a defensive end or something else, if that's the or 63, I should say, if that's the case? Just him describing it that way of defensive end over defensive tackle, would that, or defensive end, because there's so many of them, hey, get one that shouldn't be there at 31 anyway.
Right. I mean, I think the scarcity of it all is going to rule the day. I think you should also maybe throw in a corner there too for things that you could look at on the defensive side of the ball from the standpoint of, like speedy, young, and then giving yourself some flexibility at a really expensive position. So, I mean, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, all right, you could view it as the one thing that I really like about this Kansas City run of being so dominant between Andy Reid and Brett Veach is that it doesn't feel like they're ever married to one player. It doesn't feel like first of all, you're picking so stinking low, like you're never really going to be able to mock draft enough time to be able to figure out who's going to be available for sure. So, I think they do a really good job of having options and letting scarcity and the board come to them, if you want to call it like that, right? Like, I believe that they do a really good job of saying, all right, the incremental difference between defensive end or defensive tackle, we think we can get guy 2 down here. We have 4 picks in 100. We can move around. Friday should be a really exciting day for Chiefs fans. Maybe not from it's a Friday night. You got nothing else to do but watch rounds 2 and 3 of the draft, obviously. But you're looking at that and you're saying, okay, they could move all over the place to get the guys that they want in that second round. So let the first round come to them, because it is so much more expensive to switch around in the first round than it is to switch around in the other rounds. And the other thing about defensive tackle that I'm like, well, maybe they wait on that, is defensive end is a very expensive position. Yeah. And if it's a defensive tackle that won't command as much of the cap space in in 5 years, remember, you get that 5th-year option from first-round guys versus second-round guys. So maybe it would be worth it to look at an edge rusher in that case, or a corner perhaps, even because they're a more expensive position. You get 1 more year on the rookie pay scale.
From the Chiefs' perspective this year, and this has been a debate going around Kansas City here with the first round, Josh Simmons has been mocked to the Chiefs a lot, and the only reason he would be there is because of that patellar injury, and if he did not tear that, he would probably be gone in the top 20. Maybe he'd be the number 1 tackle off the board if he finishes the season, and we see him then perform in the playoffs, right, against some top-tier talent and look like that. He may be, who knows, we might be talking about Simmons being a top 10 pick, but he's been mocked to the Chiefs a lot at number 31. Given the fact that there is an expectation that the first year for Josh Simmons in the NFL will probably not be a year in which he's going to be starting in September at the left tackle, like Joe Alt was the right tackle, but you get the point. Like starting immediately at tackle, the debate around here, Cynthia, is if you can say, all right, you draft Josh Simmons, you're not going to get anything from him this year, but it would be the answer at left tackle moving forward in 2026. Or do you take somebody that's going to be more impactful for this year, for all 4/5 years of their rookie deal? What's better for the Chiefs? What route would be better for the Chiefs to go in the first round? Where would you go with this? The Chiefs have been looking for that left tackle for a while, and obviously you can't even know, even if you take Josh Simmons, that he's going to be the answer. But given this exercise, in creating this hypothetical, he is the answer, but it's not till 2026. How do you go about it if you're Brett Veach?
I mean, I'm looking at my 401k today, which I wouldn't advise anyone to do, and the volatility is not making me happy. So perhaps that's coloring my ability or appetite for risk at this point. But I'm taking someone who can compete right away. I understand that protecting Patrick Mahomes is absolutely the most important thing possible, but I also believe that perhaps the joint effect of getting a marquee running back or a guy who's a real 3-down running back, and also getting whatever is substitute available, because if you can't potentially use him this year anyways, you don't really know. In that future, I don't know if my investment in the future, especially It's not like you have your quarterback not on a rookie pay scale. You got some pretty expensive guys there. I would go for immediate contributors. And this class next year has what it at least appears to now to be a better crop of guys coming out. So can you figure out a replacement? Because you'd have to do it anyway.
Yeah. Visiting with Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network. Is this a we look at some of the bottom half of the first round, and so many years we come away on a Friday morning talking about, man, it'd be nice. Why didn't the Chiefs just trade back? Or, man, if they could have traded back and maybe got the same guy. And Brett Veach offered, some pushback on that last week and saying, yeah, it's not that easy. We don't really get not many phone calls of people trading back in. I know we hear about it a lot, but when's the last time a team traded back into the first round for a quarterback? Was it Lamar? That went up and said, you know what, we're getting like Teddy, the Vikings did it at last pick. Lamar, the Ravens did it. It doesn't happen very often. Is one of the things that I've been wondering when we talk to people that have covered the draft. Is this more or less likely, or is this sort of the general what we've seen of recent years in the quarterback spot of a team trading back into the first round to get maybe Shadir Sanders slides, or they like Jackson Dart or Tyler Shuck or something like that, that it would be 31, Chiefs are on the clock, and a team calls, and maybe they can trade back and get extra picks and have even more fun on a Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where the runs are. If you have a defensive tackle run, then edge rusher, you could come back in there. You could add that to quarterback. I think a little bit of it will depend on your belief that, like, if a Jackson Dart falls far enough, like, does Shador and Jackson Dart last past Pittsburgh?
Mm-hmm.
If they, and that's 21. So if they do, then you could say, okay, but would the Chiefs be the one you want to trade for with that? Because I would argue that, the Eagles are not really looking for quarterback. You'd be trading back in to get whatever, and the Eagles might, how he's always on the phone. They might allow for a trade that's more favorable for the team trading up, because he knows that, I think the gamesmanship of Howie in that might be like, you can go for us, we'll give you better deal. Like, so I don't know. You always need to have the trade partner, right? Absolutely, that's the biggest deal, is figuring out who the trade partner would be. And I just think, to me, the most likely suspect for a target for a trade would be to get ahead of, like, if you really wanted Shador, to get ahead of New Orleans at 8, and that's nowhere near the Chiefs.
Yeah, interesting. So you think Shador probably, or at least if he does, number 9 to the Saints? Because I was thinking, I was crossing fingers, right, and thinking, well, if Shador or one of those guys gets to 31, it's a great point about Philadelphia at 32,
right. Well,
and maybe New Orleans says, we took a bigger stud at number 9, and hey, he's still there. Let's move up from 40 to 31 because we've got extra picks in the 3rd round and 4th round that we can play around with.
Kind of. Except for, look at the Saints. Look at the Saints roster.
I know.
And you're like,
ugh.
They're not the youngest, and they're not. They've got a lot of needs, so I don't know if they would be willing to package up. They have been in cap conundrum.
Yes.
It's a nice word for it for a long time now.
Yes, that's it's wishful thinking. I'm just hoping the Chiefs can get even more.
They
picks.
like it, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that, just trade back and then get Josh Simmons at number 40. Why don't you just do that? Trade back and get the player that you wanted at number 31, or you'd have to trade up for. That's easy. Just pick a player that you really want. Trade back and get Walter Nolan. You know what I mean? At number 40. Why not?
Obviously, he'll still be there.
Why would you not do that, Cynthia? Why are they dumb to not do that? Right?
Why would they not get extra picks and the player they want? I know, I love that. I love the the revisionist sort of like, well, they could have done that. You're like, no, they couldn't. No, probably not. No, sure. What was that one guy? There was like a couple guys that the Raiders did that with, and the Patriots. But for those guys, then you're not getting a Walter Nolan late. You're just not.
Yeah, no way. Cynthia Freeland is our guest, NFL Network. What do you make of what we've heard? You mentioned it's a draft of old and young, and Brett Veach mentioned it as well and said, last year he talked about the NIL transfer portal, that, you're seeing guys that are older and there's a drop off after rounds 3 and 4 and into that, 3rd day of guys that are older less players that maybe you throw a dart at that's younger, you can mold. But these guys are now older, and he mentioned there'll be guys drafted earlier in the draft that, George Karlaftis is younger than. Karlaftis turned 24 earlier this month. There's going to be guys that are 24, 25 years old in this draft. Has it created, Cynthia, to where teams are valuing more their first, second, and third rounders, their Thursday and Friday night picks, and we're seeing the first year in a long time where everybody has their first-round pick, but also maybe more willing to move the fifth or sixth or seventh rounders, where the Chiefs have traded a fifth rounder for Hopkins, a sixth rounder for Cam Thomas, a sixth rounder for Uche, or seventh rounder for Cam Thomas, a sixth rounder for McCole Hardman. Are we seeing something, maybe a change where the teams look at it and go, you want more lottery tickets, but right now, day 3, you have a lesser odds of cashing that lottery ticket. So is it better to take the bird in the hand of a player that you can get this year and trade some of those away? Because we're not seeing the same caliber of younger player in the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds.
I think if you're in the fortunate enough position to be able to afford it, then sure. But I don't think everyone can afford it. And that's and also they're like the Lions would have loved to do that last year with their defense basically all being gone. But at some point you just can't mortgage everything even though your entire defense is on IR and you just can't pay people. So a lot of it's the situation that you find yourself in. Sure, I agree that having a guy, like DeAndre Hopkins, for example, come in, that's a great trade. But there aren't a ton of those guys either, right? Who would a team be willing to give up for a fifth round, a day 3 guy? Mm-hmm. That's the other thing, right? So you have to remember, to me, this is a weird year. It's not going to always be like this because you'll see. I can't believe Tyler Shuck played with Justin Herbert. Mind blown. That's insane to me. But I think also we're going to have some things where this NIL, it's a bubble, and there was pent up demand. Now we have. The market will stabilize for that. The thing that's going to be interesting is the transfer portal, classifying the guys as I think they should have to stay for it needs to be a little less crazy than it is right now. It's messing up a lot of things for colleges, and also you're looking at some of these players and you're I don't know, some people are oh, it's an advantage, we've seen them in different schemes. I'm but you haven't really, because in 8 games they're not playing. It's not like they're getting deep into their playbook. And offensive line play, find a pulling guard. I'll wait. Good luck. There's things there that's not great with it, but it'll whatever's going to happen. The market will equalize. This is just the weird year where you're getting the really old and the really young. Very strange year. But it means if you, like I said, if you have a vision for what you think your team is and needs to be, you can find it better. The other people who get, squirrel, those are the teams that are going to do a terrible job of drafting.
Yeah, I think it also, I wonder how much it affects, the transfer portal, if there's going to be players that may slip through the cracks in terms of character concerns or not having the full profile on them. As this guy was with our West Coast scout for about 10 minutes and then was with our Southern scout then with our Northeast scout for a little bit. And you never develop the relationship with those particular positional coaches to know what actually is going on. And, well, who knows what this guy's going to be, because they're transferring from different regional scouts to another regional scout in your organization.
Yeah, and now your scouts are tasked with being not just amateur psychologists, but forensic amateur psychologists who have to go with just little breadcrumbs here and little breadcrumbs there. You can't even ask the staff, has this kid gotten nicer over the years? Because sometimes kids come in and they're from a small town and they're scared and they don't say anything, and then they open up and get but you don't get any of that anymore.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Last one, how many quarterbacks in the first round, real quick?
I think 3.
3 of them? Okay. Seems to be 2 or 3 seems to be the number that people are going with.
I think I'm going with 3 because I think the Browns having the 33rd pick, that's the team that could trade back up. And that's the one, because if for whatever reason a guy they falls far enough, if for some reason whoever the Steelers take isn't who the Browns thinks works for them, then I think that they could pop back up and get it. That's the one. That's the out. And they've got 4 picks in the first 3 rounds too.
All right, pick number 31, higher or lower for the Chiefs, their first pick in the draft?
I think they pick at 31, not because they want to, but because there's no trade partner.
We'll see what happens. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network. Cynthia, have some fun as the draft is a few days away, and looking forward to catching up down the road. Thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Great talking to you.
Absolutely. There's Cynthia Freeland, analytics expert for NFL Network. Great stuff from her, as always. And, yeah, this is going to be a fascinating draft. We'll see what happens early on. And, questions around whether or not the Chiefs want to take a guy that may have injury concerns or take a guy that can be an impactful player right away. Or if they move up, trade back, sit at 31. Is that a conducive year? There's so many different things that we'll see what happens maybe at 8 and 9. Maybe the Raiders at 6 if they go running back as opposed to quarterback, or maybe their Brady and Sanders relationship means he takes Shadir Sanders. If the Saints sit there at number 9 and they need a quarterback and they take Sanders, or if they're hoping that somebody's there at 40, the Cleveland Browns passing on quarterback, but then with the 33rd pick, do they trade back up if somebody's there? Typically, it's quarterbacks that it happens for, but, we'll find out and see what ends up happening. But that'll be Thursday, that first round, and Friday when the Chiefs have 1, 2, and 3 picks on that Friday night. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. More Zone right after this. Podcast joining us here in the zone to talk about your Kansas City Royals. Joel, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Jason. How about yourself?
I am doing just fine. I'm doing better today than I would be doing had the Royals not found a way to win that game, but they did. So they salvage the 4-game series against the Tigers by winning at least one. It's one game, but, along the way, we talk about one game here or there that maybe is a little more meaningful than one game here or there. What was that game for you yesterday in what it literally would be the difference of 6.5 games out or 4.5 games out?
Well, to get the one win in that series off of Tarek Skubal with him on the mound, that was the one game I kind of chalked up like they're probably not going to win that one. And, of course, they find a way to scratch a couple across against him, get him out in the 5th inning, and then you're going up against the bullpen that you had seen quite a bit over the previous 3 days. And you found a way to win a ball game. It wasn't obviously the prettiest way to do it, but wins are wins. They don't ask how, they just ask how many. And it helps get them off the schneid a little bit. They played 17 games in 17 days. I do think that factored into this losing streak a little bit, where it's just there's no break or reprieve. You're just having to go and figure it out, on the stretch with no off day. But you get the win, final game of a road trip, an ugly one at that. Then you have a flight back to Kansas City, an off day, and then you get the Rockies coming in, who are awful. So this feels like that was. It may not be the thing that springboards the Royals in the other direction, but I think it's at least a step in the right direction with a chance to expand on that over the next 3 games.
I thought, everybody around Kansas City was, holding their breath that they could win that one and hold on there in the bottom of the 10th inning, and what it would mean to, break the losing streak and head back home on some sort of a positive note with a day off. And we know the Royals, care and have been, coming up short in a number of these games. But I thought it interesting, Joel, when that last out happens in the 10th and Garcia catches the ball, the yell that he let out at that point, that to me said a lot about what's going on in the clubhouse and them being fully aware of what these struggles have been and this stretch and what that game meant on Sunday to them to find a way to win against Tarek Skubal. I don't know if there's any, grand takeaway from that. I just thought it was interesting and sort of revealing to a degree of that catch. And you win a game, hey, you catch the ball, high fives, you do some of those things. But Garcia caught the ball, and there was a fist pump and a yell after that they got the win.
I mean, there had to have been some level of catharsis with finally winning a game, getting out off of a 6-game losing streak. And really, I don't think they played, holistically, I don't think they played that poorly. They had opportunities to win all of those games. They were in all of those games. They had leads in all of 3 games in New York. They had leads at multiple times in the Detroit series, and it just got away from them. The offense sputtered. The bullpen gave it away. The starter, gave up one big hit like Seth Lugo on Saturday. Hits pretty well, but let the splitter up, and Spencer Torkelson crushed it, and that was the difference in that game. I think it just, for them to have that win when they had so many opportunities or chances late in some of these games and it didn't come through, I do think it meant something to them. And we know how seriously these guys take it, how competitive that clubhouse is and their mentality day in, day out. For them to finally get one and end a pretty ugly road trip where you go 2-8, it had to have meant something, especially knowing, all right, we get a little bit of a happy flight back. We don't have to go and play another game tomorrow. We get a little bit of a break before we start a 6-game homestand. It had to have had some sort of impact for them.
Visiting with Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast, is, adding context to who they played this year versus last year's 14-10 start. They're 9-14 with this finally a day off after 17 games in 17 days. But is it appropriately bringing context in, Joel, or is it viewed as trying to, put lipstick on a pig from this start to the season when we point out, last year they start the season 14-10, and the teams they played had a combined winning percentage of .452, and the winning percentage when they didn't play the Royals was .431, whereas the games they've played so far this year in these, 23 games, their opponents have a combined winning percentage of .523. And even without the Royals, their 14-9 record against the Royals, it's still a .512 winning percentage when, they don't play the Royals this year. Is it making excuses there? Because we know how bad the offense has been. The offense is, even against pitchers they should be scoring against, they're not scoring. So it isn't just simply that. But is there some context to it of how they started last year so hot that they did have 7 against the White Sox, and they had 3 against the Astros that were 7-16, and 3 against the Twins who were 8-13 at that time when we looked at April 21st or 22nd. Is it making excuses, or is there something to take away from that in this rough start for the Royals?
So I look at it two ways. One, it obviously was tough when you have to play that many playoff teams from the previous year, tough teams in division out the gate. But at the same time, we viewed this team coming into the year as they should be competing with those teams for playoff and wild card spots and for the division. They have not played up to that level. So it does show like the Royals still have a long way to go, but the schedule does soften up a little bit over the next few weeks. They have a chance to make up some of that ground, and maybe by that point the offense has gotten rolling a little bit. We've figured out the bullpen mix, some guys get healthy, and you're able to see them play at a level that is much more on par with what we thought coming into the season. So I think you can kind of look at it from both sides. I do think this team is better than the record that they've showed. I don't think they're that far off from being competitive in a lot of these games. Even though they lost these games to the Tigers, they didn't play well against Cleveland. I don't think the Royals are that much worse than either of those teams. They just got a few things they have to clean up. They have to find more offense. But if they're able to find that, the pitching's going to keep them in a lot of these games. So there's still reason for optimism here, despite a slower start than we anticipated when opening day rolled around.
It will be we'll be able to look back in these next 16 games. We'll be able to look back to Monday, April 21st, and know if it was an excuse / maybe a legitimate reason. Let's just say we'll be able to look back and see, was it a legitimate reason, or was it just simply trying to find something, to find a silver lining, to not feel like the season is doomed? Because these next 16 games against the Rockies and the Astros and the Rays and the Orioles and the White Sox, they're a combined 37-59. So this is the time for the Royals to win a number of these series, even going to Tampa Bay and going to Baltimore. But 4 against the White Sox, and they had played 7 at this point last year against the White Sox. And Colorado is the 2025 version of the 2024 White Sox. And so if they struggle and are 500, 8-8 over the next 16 games, then I think we can look at it and go, maybe it was trying to find something and there was more lipstick on a pig. If these next 16 games, they go, 11-5, like, all right, there's something to it. They were playing some tougher teams, and in those games with tougher teams, a play here or there could be the difference of a win or a loss. They weren't playing well, and against really good teams, when you're in a tough stretch, you're probably going to lose those games. But, hey, they bounced back and beat a number of teams that they should have beat, and, they get to 11-5, and, they're right around 500 at that point when they get ready for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, they have to take advantage of the stretch here. And if they do that and they put themselves, closer to 500, then we're maybe talking about a little bit of a different team, or a team that's got a little more confidence to it. And yes, you can only beat the teams that are in front of you. It's part of the parade, but they played a tougher stretch to begin the year. Now that it softens up, they have some chances to right the ship a little bit here and put themselves in a better position in the division and in the wild card.
Visiting with Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast. MJ Melendez was sent down to the minors when Mark Canha came off the IL. They stay with Drew Waters at the big league club. Were you surprised by that? I guess I'll ask, do you like that decision? But then also, assuming the answer is yes, were you surprised that they did choose Drew Waters over MJ Melendez and decided he was the guy to get sent down?
I'll answer this in reverse. I was surprised that they actually did send MJ down and they kept Drew Waters up. It felt like this is going to be – they said right away that Mark Canha's injury was going to be pretty much the true 10-day and then he's back, and that's what it was. So I'm like, okay, Drew Waters is going to come up. They pretty much wiped their hands with him last year, giving him a very limited sample, and it wasn't like he did anything to not justify that decision when he did come up to the big league level. So I thought that would be the case, and Drew Waters would go back down and continue to be org depth, and MJ's just going to figure it out at the big league level. Well, they made the correct decision in sending MJ down. I'd say a vast majority of this is mental for him at this point. And I think a reset is going to be the best thing for him. Go down to AAA, mash for a few weeks, get things right, get some confidence back, and then come back. This is not a situation where the Royals are giving up on him, but they couldn't keep sending him back out into the lineup. It was a futile effort, and when you're searching for offense, when your offense is really poor for the most part outside of Bobby Witt Jr. for the vast majority of this season, they have to make those types of decisions. And they go, okay, we can't mess around with this anymore. And that was pretty clear with this decision. Any other year we've seen with this team, that they'll let them figure it out. There's not much to figure out anymore. You got to find a way to win ball games, and having MJ Melendez in the lineup lately is not helping with that.
You like the decision, though, that
I do. I
keep Drew?
Because I am not giving up on MJ whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I still think there's a talented ball player in there. I think he's just got to get his mind right and figure something out. And just see some balls hit the barrel and see some balls go over the fence, and maybe that is all the difference, and just a level of confidence and just seeing positive results. And if that's the case, then we'll see what happens when he comes back. I'm not writing him off by any stretch, but he's got to be better, and this is the way to do it.
I wonder if this is also, to the point of from J.J. Piccolo that, look, MJ Melendez is in his head right now. He's pressing. He's struggling. It's needed just to get away and go down to Omaha and even take the weekend off, like take Saturday, take Sunday off. Omaha's got Monday off. And then they play tomorrow. So, hey, man, we're sending you down. We're optioning you, and you don't play again until Tuesday. Relax, get your mind right, recharge a little bit, and then go take care of business down in Omaha. So to a point, it was almost choosing, to have MJ go and figure it out, like he's pressing, as opposed to, hey, Drew Waters, we can't send him down right now. I mean, he was OPSing. He was OPSing 391. Drew Waters was when they decided to send MJ Melendez down. He had gotten on base 4 times and struck out 9 times to that point. Now, he has 2 hits yesterday, so that was good. And the run scored and the RBI and a couple of really good at bats. And even Saturday, Joel, in a game where he goes 0 for 2. That walk in the 9th inning was a 10-pitch walk. I mean, what a great at bat for Drew Waters. And so I think at the time, it was more, MJ, we're sending you down because you need to work on things, not we're sending you down because we can't send Drew Waters down right now. He's helping us too much.
Yeah, it's absolutely that. Drew Waters hasn't really done anything to this point to show, yes, this is the spark this offense needs. Mm-hmm. This is way more to do with MJ needing a reset, because I still believe the Royals want him to be their left fielder as they move down the stretch of the season and into the playoffs. This is not a situation where they want Drew Waters. They would prefer it be MJ over Drew Waters, I think is the better way to put it. But you have to have 26 guys on this roster. You got to have 13 position players. And right now, Drew Waters, his impact is probably more than what MJ's been doing right now, obviously. And MJ Melendez is a -2 way to run straight at plus. It's not much, not like Drew Waters is basking himself in glory, but it's at least in the 40s and not -2.
Yeah, right. So even if it's in the 40s, right? It's not -2. That is, man, that's hard. It's hard to be -2. Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast. I'm going to ask the question not as I'm asking the question because I want a specific answer. I am genuinely curious of your thoughts on Q continuing to play Salvi at first when he gets a day off. I get the theory behind you don't want your backup catcher to be DH because of all the times that your starting catcher gets hurt, that you have to lose your DH to put him there. All the times this Royals team has had to do that. But where do you stand on what we've seen from Salvi at first base? Is it just a rough start and he's actually fine over at first base, or at this point moving forward, it makes more sense that if Vinny's in the lineup, put him at first, and Salvi can DH and actually get a day off with his legs too in the field, since that hasn't happened except for a few games so far this year.
Yeah, it's interesting because last year Salvi actually was a fairly solid defender over at first base. Wasn't obviously amazing, but he was 4 outs above average. He didn't have enough innings to qualify, but that's a pretty good number for a backup first baseman, quote unquote. But this year it's obviously not been the same. I think he just needs time off his legs, and he needs to be DHing. Obviously, with the way that he is not he has not seen the results hitting-wise. When you actually look at a lot of the batted ball metrics, he has been one of the more unlucky players in all of baseball. And I think at this point, just let him DH and on the days that he's not catching and let Vinny play first, because Vinny is actually a pretty solid defender, even if his range is not necessarily the best. But he can pick it. He can play the position as well as you could expect from a guy that is more bat first than fielding, especially at that position. You'd rather have that than a really good defender that can't hit. So I understand the logic of trying to keep Salvi. Like, I think some of it is Salvi just wanting to be in the field, but I think they need to save him from himself a little bit too. And just, dude, take the day off, take your 4 at-bats, and then you can hop behind the plate tomorrow, but we don't need you playing first unless Vinny's, hamstring is bothering him and they're still trying to mitigate that injury. But at this point, I haven't seen anything that's shown that's been barking for him at all. So I think they just need to play Vinny at first. Let's get Salvi off his feet as much as they can.
Well, and the thing that's puzzling to me is, we hear in the offseason that, J.J. Piccolo and Matt Quatrero meet with Salvador Perez to say, hey, man, we're not going to play as much this year. You're going to get more days off because we want you fresh for the whole season. He wasn't exactly happy with the conversation, as, we heard from J.J., but they want a 35-year-old Salvador Perez to be fresher in August and September when he went through a slump because he had been playing so much last year. Catching 91 games, 49 at first base, had 24 games at DH. And so far this year, he's played in all 23 games, and he has DH'd in 4 of them. And so he's got 19 days of the 23 games, 19 games of 23 that he's been in the field, and he hasn't had a day off yet. Like, I'm not asking for Salvi to be out of the lineup at all. Like, I don't. This lineup doesn't really have any spots to where, hey, just take Salvi out. But the talk about having him rest more so that he's fresh for the entire season, we haven't really seen that in practice yet in these 23 games.
Yeah, Salvi is going to want to play every day, and even on days when he has a quote-unquote off day, he's going to try and find a way to grab a helmet and bat and go, hey, I'm pinch hitting. Because the dude just loves to play, and there's something to be said for that. But at the same time, they have to save him from himself, and the best way to do that right now is just DH him as much as you can, because I'd rather see him DH than Gavin Biggio, than Drew Waters, and whoever else you could throw in that DH spot right now. Mm-hmm. So that would be the best way to set this lineup, because Freddie is such a good defender, even if he's not necessarily hitting a ton. He's so good defensively that you have to have him in the lineup, more often than not, just for defensive purposes. And Salvi has been fine this year defensively. It's not like he's a bad defender, but Freddie is a level or two better than him at this point.
Visiting with Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast. The deal they signed for Estevez in the offseason, I liked the deal because it looked like there wasn't going to be an outfielder available. And if they didn't have that money for an outfielder or couldn't use the money on an outfielder that was worth it, then bolster a strength and shorten the game to where if Harvey's healthy, you can go Harvey, Estevez, Urseg bouncing around. We've talked about all of those things. But 2 years, $22 million. How's the deal looking now that we've seen through 23 games? Yeah, it'd be great if they had a left fielder, but I can imagine the reaction around here if they'd have spent that money on Jurickson Profar and not on Carlos Estevez, because he got 2 innings yesterday and he's done his job so far. And I pointed this out in the first hour, Joel, that, if the Royals had traded, a minor leaguer or a pitcher for Devin Williams and paid him $9 million, he has not been good for the Yankees. And that's $9 million they're paying Devin Williams this year and traded for him, where Estevez is making 10. And so far so good on that decision that there isn't an outfielder that we're going to spend the money on that's worth it. Let's go bolster the back end of the bullpen, because Harvey's injury and, Urseg, hopefully he'll be ready to go Tuesday. They said he was ready yesterday, but didn't really want to throw him. But hopefully he's ready Tuesday. But that looks like a pretty good decision right now.
Yeah, completely justified decision. And I'm always for investing in your bullpen because it does shorten the game, like you mentioned, and it gives you confidence at the end of games that you're going to win it. Because can you imagine yesterday if you don't have Harvey and obviously Ursig is burned because of taking the liner off the foot. Like, who are you going to throw out there in the 10th after already using Daniel Lynch to feel like you're going to go out there and win that game? When Estevez went out there, I was like, okay, I think they're gonna find a way to get this done because he has so much experience closing out games, and he's been a pretty steadying force for this team. And now that we're starting to see that velocity pick back up, the splitter and the slider are playing even better for him. He's going to continue to get better as the season goes on, and as long as you're not riding him so hard that he burns out in August, but I don't think that's going to happen with Lucas Erceg and maybe a Daniel Lynch and hopefully a healthy Hunter Harvey. You have a pretty solid back end of a bullpen, and even if your offense isn't fantastic, this is a hell of a way to cover it up by just shortening games to, if you give us 3 runs by the 6th inning, we're going to win this game. Or if you score 2 runs and you give us some insurance late, they're going to win a game because they have Erceg and Estevez to lock down the 8th and 9th and shut down any sort of rally that might happen on the other side of it.
Yeah, when the Royals score at least 4 runs, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1.
That's a pretty good formula. 4-4, win a game.
That's absurd. Plus, that means they've gotten to 8.
We don't need to talk about the other side of that. Let's just stick with the fact they are 7-1 when they score at least 4 runs.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Their losses 0, 2, 1, 0, 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1. Good night, man. So yeah, you get 4 runs, you win the game because of the bullpen and the starting staff. So hopefully they'll be able to get a few more runs here at home against a couple of teams. That certainly one of them in Colorado. That is the 2025 version of the 2024 White Sox. So we'll see what happens with that. Joel Penfield, One Royal Way Podcast. Joel, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Enjoy the baseball. We will talk next week.
Sounds good, Jason. Have a good one.
Absolutely. You too. There's Joel Penfield. Great stuff from him. One Royal Way Podcast. And the schedule lightens up. We'll see if the offense will start putting a little bit more production together and not averaging 2.2 runs per game as they did over this 10-game road trip.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason. It's bad, though.
I'm going to look. I'm going to take the break to look and see if 2.2 runs per game is good or bad. I'm not sure. I don't think it's great, but is it awful? I don't know. Maybe suboptimal, because, again, if you could get to, not saying that every time they get to 4, not saying that every time they would, if they just scored 4 runs, they would be undefeated, because, they've lost games where the opposition has scored 7 and 6 and 5 and 8 and 7 and 6 and 6 and 7, things like that. But when they have scored 4 runs.
Not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
I mean, the only game that they have lost this year when they've scored at least 4 runs was opening day. They lost 7-4.
I just love that it's basically the LeBron clip. It's during the streak. Not 1, it's 2.
It's 2.
You gotta stop it. Not 1.
Not 1.
Basically, it's just
2,
not 1.
It's just 2. It's 2.2 actually.
Yeah.
Not 1. Not 2. Not 2.1. 2.2 runs per game.
Well, it is not 3 or 4.
Not 3. You're right.
You're correct. Yeah.
You could start with 3. It's a good point. It's a great job, Dylan. Start with 3. Not 3. Not 4. Not 5. They average 2.2 over these 10 games, and they need to get healthy quick.
By the way, the 4 runs last night's doing some heavy lifting.
Oh, 100%. Scored 18 in 9 games.
Yeah.
They averaged. They brought up that average to 0.2. Extra than where they were with 18 runs in 9 games. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling more zone next. Thank you to Joe Penfield, One Royal Way podcast, talking some Royals baseball. Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. Learn Funniest Best. We got that coming for you. From the weekend, we talked with Joel about MJ Melendez being optioned down to the minor leagues. And again, it's not like Drew Waters was just ripping the cover off the baseball, and that's why he deserved to stay up with the big league club. He was OPSing at 390 before Saturday's game, was Drew Waters. So again, he wasn't doing so much that, well, Mark Canha's coming off the IL. We can't send down Drew Waters. He's been so good. He's been this spark plug for the offense. Although the last couple of days, is there a confidence boost for Drew Waters that, was he just sitting there biding his time saying, well, yeah, but whenever Canha comes off the IL, I'm going back to Omaha. And now it's Canha comes off the IL, and MJ is sent down Drew. Because on Saturday, he goes 0 for 2, but has 2 walks.
Yeah.
He hadn't walked in any game leading up to that point. He has that amazing ninth inning at bat where he works a 10-pitch walk, fouling off, taking ball 4. And then Freddie Fermin, 6-pitch at bat to single up the middle, to have first and third, down by 2 runs with 2 outs in the ninth. Again, that 10-pitch at bat came with 2 outs in the ninth, nobody on, and losing 5 straight games where your offense sucks. And Drew Waters went there and battled to the last pitch. Okay. So then yesterday goes 2 for 4 with an RBI, run scored, steals a base the night before. So, in 2 games, he's been awesome. 2 games since they dropped MJ Melendez. And so it was more of MJ so bad and is struggling so much and is in his head so much that it isn't about what Drew Waters is doing. It's about what MJ is not doing. I was surprised that they decided to go with MJ Melendez and send him down. I thought it would be Drew Waters. I thought the home run earned him a couple of more weeks at least of him being a part of the team. That's not the case. Before the game on Saturday, J.J. Piccolo talked with the team with the news of MJ Melendez being optioned and Drew Waters staying, with Mark Canha coming off the IL, and Joel Goldberg and the other media that was there in Detroit talking with J.J. Piccolo. Here's J.J.'s reasoning, some Q&A with J.J. Piccolo about MJ Melendez being sent down.
What made today the right day or the right time?
There's never a right day or right time. It's just you get a feel for what's going on with the team and how a player's performing. Obviously, Mark Canha is going to be back today, and that was part of it. But it was something we had been discussing for the last week or so, knowing that Mark was going to be back. And unfortunately, somebody's going to be left out. In this case, it was MJ, and just want to see him go back to the minor leagues and continue the work that he's doing.
So what has gone wrong, or what hasn't happened to make the start time for him beyond the move that was needed?
Yeah, well, first I'd just say I give him a lot of credit because he spent the whole offseason working on something that we believe he's on the right path. Made a couple other adjustments while we were in New York and saw it pay off a little bit, but changes like that need to take a little bit. Will take a little bit of time, and sometimes the setting is just best at the not at this level. Maybe in AAA where he can relax a little bit and reset and continue working on the things that he's trying to do.
How much too is playing time? I mean, he has the homer the other night, almost ties the game, and then he hasn't really played since.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate because you see I wasn't with the team, but I'm watching on TV and I can see the changes he's made, and he had some success that night. And you hope it leads into the next night and the next night after that. But again, those things take a little bit of time, so it's not something that you can fix overnight. We're just going to be very encouraging to him because we think he's doing the right thing and working on the right things. And now just go down and take a little bit of pressure off of him and do it at a different level.
How did he handle it?
He was great. He was a pro. I don't want to speak for him, but, I think those things go through players' minds, and at times they know what to expect. He didn't seem surprised, but was quiet, but he was a pro, and I think he understands where we're at. The team is not playing well right now, so I think it's magnified a little bit, but he handled it well.
He's obviously a homegrown guy, one of your core players that you've, stated your belief in quite a bit. What was the decision like? There are other options, obviously, when you bring Mark back. So what are the decisions like and the conversations like that it's entering today?
Yeah, well, we talked about a handful of different ways we could go, but just listening to the coaching staff, having my own opinion, we were all on the same page. So you can tell at times when players are pressing, and if they're pressing, it's even more difficult to perform. So in this case, MJ seemed to be, I don't want to say the right guy, but the one that would most benefit by going back to the minor leagues. And as I shared with him, I mean, there's very few people in this world, very few players in this world that don't get optioned at some point. So it's certainly not the end of his career. We like to think it's just the start of a new beginning. Take advantage of the opportunity to go out and play in AAA, play well, and get back here. I mean, here it's about performance. You got to be able to perform. We have I think a very high level of patience, and we've exercised patience with MJ. So we'll see how it goes when he goes back and how quickly he can get back up.
We'll see. And he's got to go down and figure out what the issue is. But also some of the things there is like, he heads down to the minor leagues, and once it sort of sets in that this is reality for you, now what do you do?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the Royals are not going to take the first week or so of what MJ's doing as in, well, see, he still sucks. It sounds like the Royals are going to take the first week or so what MJ's doing with a grain of salt of the guy's been up with the big leagues and now he gets optioned this late in his career because he's really struggling. There might be an adjustment process for him going down to Omaha, playing with the Royals in Omaha or Storm Chasers. Grown up with the Royals. It's the devil race. But going down and spending the first week or so maybe accepting that this is reality, and then go to work, and then do what you need to do to go to work to get back.
I like at the very end he goes, we've given him a lot of time, a lot of chances, and they have ample time for MJ. And the majors, it's true, you can talk about potential all you want, but the Royals are trying to compete right now. They don't have time for guys to try and figure it out at the majors. And it's also different if you're trying to figure it out and you're batting 220. Like we talked about last year and the year prior, how MJ's close and he's trying to figure it out. Well, he was batting 220. He was OPSing like 690 or 700, and we're saying how, well, he's close and he's trying to figure it out. He's OPSing 343 this year. That's beyond trying to figure it out. That is a whole other situation of bad to try and figure out. And with Isabel not hitting and Renfroe not hitting, you can't do it. You just can't. You have to try and figure something out. I'm glad they did MJ.
And not Waters.
Yes, I because also I think we should hopefully see, and we again small sample size, but Waters should be able to play a little more free now. You would hope so.
I hope that was the case. I hope that's what we saw these last 2 days, right?
Because when you think, and everyone knows Mark Hanna's coming back, and someone's getting sent down, and you'd have to imagine Drew Waters thought it was going to be him.
Yeah.
And so when he came up with the bases loaded, and he strikes out on 3 pitches, the mindset is probably in that moment, I have to hit a grand slam, I have to do something, or else I'm getting my ass sit back down. And so the fact that he's staying and it's been rewarded with 2 straight good games, I don't know. I think there is something small to take away there of maybe Drew can now breathe a little easier, a little freer. Maybe he goes back and he strikes out, 4 times against the Rockies on Monday or on Tuesday. Could be. But I like to believe at least that this would allow some of these guys to breathe a little more free, especially Drew Waters. I guess I like this move, and I hope MJ figures it out, because it clearly was not going to work in the majors for MJ. The swing change was too drastic. You got to figure it out. And Alex Gordon and Mike Moustakas, they've all had their about the same age when they got sent back down, and expectations were higher for both those guys than MJ. Now, they didn't have quite this low of a low that MJ Melendez had, but even for a guy like Gordon, the expectations were drastically higher. And they took it in stride, and we saw how the rest of their career panned out. So I think this is a good situation for MJ. Pressure off him, go to AAA, and quite frankly, no one's even thinking about him as much as Jack Caglione right now.
Well, that's true.
So, even the minors...
Good, bad, or indifferent.
But even the minors... I know it's AA versus AAA, but you're not even the main focal point in the minors right now.
Yeah.
He can really have all the weight off his shoulders.
Yeah, everybody's like, you're MJ, your name isn't Jack Caglione. You're fine. You're fine, dude.
Or even Gavin Cross, or like.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, even in the minors, if you want to talk about no pressure, this legit should be zero pressure for MJ.
So looking at like the difference in the comparison between MJ and Mike Mutaka. Moustakis got sent down after 414 games in the big leagues.
Okay.
MJ's played 428.
Okay.
It's pretty close. MJ, his career batting average right now is 216. Moustakis' was 236 when he got sent back down.
Sure.
MJ's on-base percentage is 299. Moustakis' was 292. Slugging percentage, MJ is 390. Moustakis 379. So 688 OPS for MJ, 671 for Moustakis. 52 home runs for MJ, 41 for Moustakis. 74 doubles for MJ, 85 for Moustakis.
Yeah.
There's, some comparison. 123 walks for Moustakis, 166 for MJ.
Strikeout's probably the biggest difference, right?
Let's see. Yeah. 15, 20, 122 to 434.
Wait, 122 to 434?
122 from Moustakis.
Yeah, well, Moustakis had better bat to ball skills,
right.
And so that's not average is about the same.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but
that is hilariously bad.
It's,
but also Moose didn't strike out very often at all. That was kind of one of his calling cards. He was a good bat to ball guy.
Let me change that though. That is incorrect. That is a different spot that I was doing the addition for. That is, it seems certainly off.
Yeah, 156 can't be right. That has to be. He has to have
more. Plus, so 284.
Still a large
14 to 284.
Yeah, a large difference. Still.
Yeah, there is a difference because you're talking about almost everything seems to be close. Plate appearances 1,639. Wow, this is amazing. Plate appearances for MJ is 1639. Plate appearances for Moustakis was 1632.
Wow.
1,452 at bats for MJ. 1,498 at bats for Moustaka. So it's that is interesting. Sort of those comparisons between the two. Maybe MJ comes back up and figures some things out. Now Moustakis didn't stay down very long. He went down, injuries. He came back up. And in his time down at AAA, he OPS'd at like 940.
Yeah.
So he went down,
mashed,
hit, came back up, and it was a different Moustaka. It was a different Moose Tacos. He had more Moose Dogs when he came back up. You know what I mean? Hopefully MJ can do that same thing. I'm not going to hold out hope that MJ has beefy dongs when he comes back up. If he comes back up. Does MJ play again this year with the Royals?
Yeah,
I think. I think even if it's injury or something.
I think injury or probably
at some point. We'll take a time out, come back, wrap up the Noon Hour More Zone next. Stellar. But man, it is eerie how close Moustakas and MJ are when Moustakas got sent down. 414 games for Moustakas, 428 for MJ. 1,632 plate appearances for Moustakas, 1,639 for MJ. 1,498 at bats for Moustakas, 1,452 for MJ. OPS, Moustakas 671, MJ 688. RBIs, Moustakas 162, MJ 163. That is pretty crazy. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer about Nicholas Mason. Really? Is that what we're gonna? Let's do it, man. Mill Valley in the house. Game 2. Thursday night, the NFL Draft right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you to Rick Amos, who joined us earlier in the show, talking about the Advent Health Championship. Field Yates, Cynthia Freeland, Joel Penfield. And now we hang out with Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Hello, Mick.
Rick Amos, neighbor of mine. Nick Mason, neighbor of mine.
But that Nicholas Mason got an exemption. He's playing in the Big 12 tournament, right, this weekend. And then he'll be playing at Blue Hills in the Advent Health Championship, getting an exemption to play in the Corn Ferry Tour event.
Well, he's earned it. I mean, that kid can play. I remember, like, my son's basketball team back when they were like 8 or 9. We had gym time. We would go and we'd wait for the team that's a year older than us. And they had this stud little point guard, good little shooter, could do everything on the court. That was Nick Mason.
Really?
A few years later, found out, but basketball he's good at, golf he's great at. Saw him on the course.
Well, his name wasn't Jordan Mason.
We met up with him one time.
Nicholas.
He was a single at our course, and he was probably in 8th or 9th grade, and we just played 9 holes with him. And he shot a 36, shot par, and was complaining during it. Like, dang it. You're like, really? Come on, Nick. So another family, and good for him. He's a awesome. Talented golfer, won state in high school, and I shame myself. I don't know, like, kind of where he is in the Big 12 pecking order. If he's one of the favorites to win the Big 12.
I know historically, as far as K-State goes, he's like top 4 scoring average all time. I mean, he's been an absolute stud. As
I think we're gonna. I'm going to miss the first hour of the show on Wednesday, so Sterling is filling in. I think he's going to talk to Nicholas Mason on Wednesday.
He's a senior academically at K-State. I don't know where he is with eligibility and all that. So that's great. We go out there every single year. It's a great event. You guys are there. We sit. You guys work. I'm with my buddies and we drink. And then Sterling kind of does both.
I do both. I was going to say something bad.
You're not going to let work get in the way of your social schedule. I know that. Right? No. Why would you?
Last year, I left about like an hour left because I was going to. I think I got picked up to go to the golf trip.
Yeah, with your boys.
Yeah, free beer drinking on the. That's a pregame.
That was an interesting day because we were out there at Blue Hills on that Thursday, and you had to leave early for the show. The sun was beaming down, so look, if you had tickets in that tent, it was worth it. And Scotty Scheffler got arrested that morning. So what a crazy day.
I got a nice tan, drank a couple beers.
Talked about Scheffler getting arrested, and then left the show early. Boy, that is a dream day for you.
It's an average day for him.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, actually, you know what? He had to work half the show, so that sucks.
Yeah,
that's a tough day for him.
He wasn't 4 in the door; he was 2 in the door.
Two in the door to a car to drive him away to go play golf. From a golf course.
It's a great day.
It is a good day.
I want
to be you when I grow up, Sterling. I want to be you.
Maybe one day, Mick.
May 15th, we'll be out there. We'll be out there at Blue Hills on May 15th for the Advent Health Championship.
Thursday.
Okay. Yep, sorry about that, Mick. That's a Thursday.
It's a Friday.
But we typically see you and say hi to you. You and Leaf are walking around, and we say hi to you guys, and he looks out there and is like, I can take all these guys. None of these guys
could hang out there, absolutely.
They couldn't hold my golf bag.
One thing for Leaf, because they even those Corn Ferry events, they move the tees way back.
Yeah,
like distance off the tee would be the only thing, but he would keep it in play. He would scramble. He would post some scores.
Sterling's trying to elbow his way into playing Blue Hills on the Monday of the tournament, before the tournament, to go out there and play the pen placements and how the course will be for the Corn Ferry Tour. He's trying to elbow his way in to show
kind of to show that the average person how difficult the setup is. It's not just going out to a course like playing that pin location.
What would you shoot?
The rough that thick. Oh man, if I shot a 95, I think I'd be happy.
Sure, yeah.
I think I'd be happy.
What would you shoot, Mick?
Better than Sterling. Just one stroke better. Whatever he posts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're Mahomes when somebody's chasing him? Just fast enough. I am 0.1
like,
of a second faster.
It's like Jack Nicklaus when he opened up Lionsgate. He came all those years ago. And they're like, what do you usually shoot on your own course? He's like, first time I own course, every single time I've shot a 66. They're like, really? It's like every single time. And once I get to 66 strokes, I just pick up and walk off.
That is great.
That'd be me.
It's the Lou Holtz. Who was the quarterback for Notre Dame back in the late 80s? He was at Tahoe.
Tony Rice.
No, he was at Tahoe. He played in the NFL for a while. I'll look it up. But he was in Tahoe, and he told the story about Lou Holtz. Like his
Rick Meyer?
No, it was before that, yeah.
Ron Paulus?
Nope.
That's all I got from that era.
Nope, not
Those
at all.
three, that's it.
Not at all. I'll think of it. But he's playing at Notre Dame, and he had like 13 or 14 interceptions his junior year. And he has a meeting before his senior year with Lou Holtz, and Lou Holtz is like, look, given what's going on this year, I can promise you're not going to throw 13 interceptions this year. And he's like, so it's like, there's a new offensive coordinator. You know, we got this thing going on. What is it about? And he's like, because if you get to 12, I'm benching your ass. You will not throw 13.
I think Grunny told that story in his book. I think he has it in his book, too.
I once had a high school coach tell me, pointing to his quarterback, he's like, that's the only kid I've never yelled at in my career. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, I don't think the pansy could take it.
Amazing.
It was Grunny, by the way. I think that told that story.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, and we were in Tahoe, and I'll look it up. Oh well. So
I remember Grunny's voice. I think the gravel.
Grunhard, also known as Grunny. So you know he's got that going for him. Berline. It was Steve Berline in 86, 87 at Notre Dame because he was there, and Todd was like, "Yeah,
wasn't Rice the quarterback when they won the title?
Yeah,
which was 87, right? Or was that 88?
Well, Berline was in the 87 draft.
Gotcha. So 87 season would have been. Gotcha.
Mick Schaefer is hanging out with us. Mick. The Royals, I mean, break them up. Since they lost 6 in a row, they're undefeated.
Nobody beats us on Sundays in April. 3-0 on Sundays in April.
Or Easter.
They lost the one on Sunday in March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's different.
Yeah, but nobody beats us on this 10-game road on Sunday. Nobody does.
Not going to happen.
Every single Sunday they won on that road trip.
That's right.
And every single other day they lost.
That's fine.
2-8. 2-8's a lot better than 1-9. Twice as good.
Yeah, that is true. 6.5 games out they would be if they'd have lost that game yesterday as opposed to 4.5. That's the crazy part about baseball.
They break the seal by scoring 4 runs.
That's exactly right.
The seal is broken.
Now they're about to score 18 tomorrow night. The Reds 24-2 over the Orioles. But the crazy part about baseball is that you have a game against Carlos Carrasco in New York, and you get a base runner, and then you play Reese Olson in Detroit, who's struggling. And then you play Tarek Skubal, who won the Triple Crown last year and wins ERA and strikeouts, and that's the win you get.
That's how baseball works.
Unfreaking real that's the case. And they get a bunch of singles in one inning, and hey, you'll take it, man.
It was all singles.
Don't need any extra base hits if you get 5 or 6 hits in one inning, you know?
In fairness, Tarek Skubal is 3-9 with an ERA of 4.76 against the Royals in 16 appearances.
Own you.
Got his number.
Own you, Tarek.
His number.
Own you, dude. You are official ownage there.
Bum.
So, yeah. He is, right? I mean,
what a bum. Besides the whole Cy Young thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, but I mean, who can't win a Cy? A lot of people can win a Cy Young. You know, there have been a lot of pitchers in Major League Baseball history that won a Cy Young.
But not Cy Young.
Is it like 50% of all MVP winners in history of baseball are in the Hall of Fame? Only 50%? If you won an MVP, it is not a guarantee that you are in the Hall of Fame.
98% of NBA Coach of the Years were fired within 2 years.
Within 2 years.
So there's that, you know. Speaking of which, also Nuggets tonight. They will be playing a game. The Royals get the win, and Estevez goes 2 innings.
Thankfully, we were like, okay, who are they going to roll out there? And we were like, he only threw, 7 pitches?
I think it was 9 pitches.
And he's barely pitched the week.
And Q said after the game was over, it was like, hey, you went 2 innings with Estevez. And he was like, well, because it worked out. And he was like, if he'd have gone 20 pitches in that first, and we'd had to figure out what was going to happen after that. But
who would have been?
I don't know. Because he said
it was available.
Probably,
right?
Yeah. He said he was available, but they were doing everything they could to not.
Well, yeah, they're going to err on.
Said if we got later in the game, he said, if we got later in the game, then we may have to go to him. But we were doing everything we could to not. So he wasn't going to come in the 10th if Estevez pitched 25 pitches or something.
Wolves got some breaks yesterday. They didn't play great baseball. Didn't run the bases great. Didn't throw it and catch it great. Neither did Detroit.
Luckily, Detroit did the same thing and didn't do some great things.
I don't think any seal was broken yesterday. I think they played the same baseball they did the previous 9 games, and they just happened to win.
But hopefully the seal being broken in that they played the same way that they played the previous 9 games, they happened to win, that against the teams they were playing are not or are much more of a caliber of team than who they will be playing.
Yeah,
now
but it's like
over the
also,
next 16.
don't you fancy yourself as that type of team
sure.
if you're the Royals?
For sure.
I fancy myself as that.
Yeah.
But I think a big takeaway was Mark Canha being back with the way that Vinny has struggled.
He's the hero.
Well, no, but it's not great. But with the way Vinny has struggled and Salvador Perez has struggled, you need someone in there who can at least get on base, give you professional at-bats, and Mark Canha's been that guy.
If he's the Scott Hatteberg of this team, every time he plays, they win, like in Moneyball. Let's go. But yeah, Mark, when I saw the lineup yesterday, I'm like, this is just trying stuff here. We're just desperation. Mark Canha hitting leadoff or hitting clean up. And Vinny hitting 7th, and hey, that worked.
Well, because realistically, because the fact he was hitting 4th instead of either Salvador or Vinny, who got the RBI? Mark Canha. He's the guy that came.
Vinny got an RBI.
Can he? Yes, he can. He did. And then Michael Garcia, again, has just been outstanding. I looked up.
Yes, they can.
I went out and pulled a whole bunch of numbers, threw it out there on Twitter, but the sustainability of Michael Garcia, the answer is yes. He actually should be having higher numbers.
You believe in him
I
the rest
believe
of the
in him.
season.
I believe in him.
We did this kind of last April, right?
We did this, and I looked at the expected numbers and all the underlying metrics. They scream that actually he's been unlucky so far. Garcia has. So, yeah, I'm all in on Garcia and what he's done. The biggest takeaway for me was the walk rate. The amount of pitches he's seen. He went from 6.7% to 11% walk rate. He's scoring balls up way more consistently. His average exit velo has skyrocketed up. His swing plane has been phenomenal. Yeah,
you did your homework, huh?
I'm all in. Well, for a team that's been so bad, I wanted to try it and just stop saying offense sucks. Everyone sucks. And so I was like, well, let's find some positivity here. I'm a positive man, Mick. And the positivity is Michael Garcia.
What about Renfroe, the highest walk percentage of his career so far this year?
It's positive.
It's positive, right? Highest walk percentage of his career.
He used to have a big-time arm, right?
He used to, yeah. Even last year.
There's no respect now for it.
No.
They're going first to third. They're tagging.
As a third base coach, I'd probably send my 9-year-old from first to third on Renfroe at this point. Because even if he gets it there in time, is it going to be accurate? I don't think so.
No.
Do you know what his arm value has been this year?
I think it's like a 1
7.
or 2.
I just throw them.
7 miles an hour.
Well,
it's actually how fast he's throwing.
His arm value is actually in the first percentile.
I don't know
which is bad.
What does that even mean?
Did I say
-2?
Arm value is a stat. I didn't even know that.
He's had the worst, like as far as like throwing guys out.
Because last year was like 91.
Yeah, this
year like 91st percentile.
It's 1.
And this is in the 1 percentile.
Yeah, this is the worst.
Yes.
This is arm value. It's 1. So
can you be in the 0 percentile?
No. Okay. Number 1, it starts at.
You can't be in the 100th percentile, right? So,
last year's arm value was the 87th percentile for.
Tell that to Vlad Guerrero. You can't be in the 100th percentile. And
it's 1.
Apparently, I've never seen that guy throw.
Also, his expected batting average, 1 percentile.
I thought you just said expecting batting average was 0.001.
Expected slugging,
1
percentile.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Yeah, he's.
How about that? What about walk percentage though? Career high.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
10.7. Wow. Not a big walker, this guy, huh?
No, he's not typically been that in his career. So.
Huh.
Would they be better with the football Hunter Renfroe out there in right field? And I bet he's a good baseball player going up.
Defensively.
Yeah, I mean, but that gives you something. Right?
He's going to be faster.
He's in the 65th percentile of walk percentage this year, is Hunter Renfroe. Last year, he was in the 56th percentile.
Wow, so positive.
Huge upgrade is what that is.
You're telling me this offense is struggling. I don't know how.
I have no idea either. Like, these guys doing this, like, I mean, come on,
man.
Oh, man. This is crazy.
The boys are playing some ball.
That they are. That they are, Edward.
More like
what's the slogan now?
Balls.
Yeah.
It is, Edward.
If you walk a lot, is it the boys are watching some balls?
Yeah, the walk percentage percentile ranking for Hunter is a 65th percentile. His previous career high was 2020 at 64th percentile. So it is his career high percentile walk percentage. So there you go.
Huge.
Yeah. And he's also not swinging and missing a lot. The whiff percentage, he's at 68th percentile. His career high before this year was 56th percentile.
Anybody go over on the Melendez and Renfroe home run ZOU total of 35?
Oh, God, I need to look at that.
I believe I ripped that under pretty hard.
I think when you said Melendez
But he had
and Renfro, I went under. I didn't even hear the
you
category.
You could have said 12, and I probably would have.
But he's got a new swing, though. That's the thing. Is Melendez do AAA stats count? I don't know, because what if MJ is hitting a bunch of home runs?
I'll let you count them.
I don't even know that if I'd have to look it up. I'd have to
count away.
I hope none of us went over. I hope I didn't, certainly.
Are you glad that they sent down MJ instead of Drew Waters? Because I was pretty thrilled by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was surprised and excited about it at the same time. Because surprised, I didn't think they would send down MJ. I thought they would send down Waters. I thought the home run for MJ earned him another couple of weeks. And, well, listen,
a couple of weeks is a long time for one homer.
Yeah, I know. I agree. But this team, this organization is as patient as it gets. And for them to do that, I was surprised, but it's been time. It's been time.
It's always been a tough thing in baseball to determine, is this a slump or is this who you are? I think it's who he is.
I think so, too. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, learn funniest best on the other side of the break. More Zone next. Appreciate you for hanging out with us on this Monday edition of the show. Time for a little Learn Funniest Best here on a Monday. What we learned from the weekend, funniest from the weekend, and best from the weekend, going around the room, and including Dylan as well, because he's a part of the team.
Never too old to learn stuff.
That's right. You learn stuff all the time. You should learn something every single day. Yeah, you learn something every day. If you laugh, you cry, you learn something. That's a full day.
Did you just come up with that yourself?
No,
this guy.
Look at
Man.
Yeah,
philosopher.
I did. It was from the great philosopher Jim Valvano. So one of the great philosophizers of our
Did
time.
his brother say stuff like that too? You worked with his brother, right, Bob?
His brother said about his Bob said about his brother Jim that he was always a comedian. That when he opened up the refrigerator, the light came on, and he'd do 5 minutes.
That's pretty funny.
I thought that was funny. Yeah. It's like he was always on. He'd open up the refrigerator and have a 5-minute set ready to go. All right, learn funniest best, what we learned from the weekend. What I learned from the weekend is that Kyle Finnegan has maybe the greatest career stat line ever.
Okay.
Kyle Finnegan, closer for the Washington Nationals. He pitched 1 inning yesterday, and he struck a guy out. So right now, his career, 300 games, 300 innings, and 300 strikeouts.
Let's go.
Wow.
Retire now. Don't screw that up.
300. Guess what his ERA is?
3.00.
3.54. Close, but it's not.
Oh, could have been better.
That would have been badass if it was 3.
Great.
But 3 innings, or 300 games, 300 innings, and 300 strikeouts for his career is Kyle Finnegan right now. It's pretty good. It's a 300, 300, 300 guy.
Guess what his favorite movie is about the Trojan War?
298. 301?
No,
The
Troy.
sequel?
Why, no, Troy.
The sequel?
He loves Troy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Finnegan again.
Yeah, that's right.
What did Brandon? Remember that guy?
Yeah, I do. I don't think so, though. Okay. Both pitchers, though. What did you learn, Sterling?
Anyone know what Captain Crunch's real name is?
Gregory.
No.
I don't know.
No.
This is something to learn. I like this.
Horatio Magellan Crunch.
I knew that at one point.
That's great.
You know, I knew that at one
his
point.
name is Horatio Magellan Crunch.
I bet he got picked on in cereal school
Yeah, he did.
with that
So
name.
he went to,
Switched it to captain.
right. Well, that's why he went to the military. He's like, you know
Well,
what?
and you
People are going
couldn't
to
spell
stop
it.
picking on
No,
me.
you couldn't spell it captain. You just spell it Captain
Captain.
because he wasn't a real captain.
Yeah.
So you couldn't.
Because he was lying about it. He was capping.
Yeah. Ooh.
The visual had to come with the audio there for Mick. Who did the run. It was capping. It's pretty good.
No cap? All cap.
Just because you shorten the name captain doesn't mean he's a fake captain. He's a real captain.
Well, no, because you want to get in trouble. You want to. That's perjury.
Is that perjury? Really?
Yeah.
Is he under oath?
lying.
He's lying. I mean,
Did he do it in a courtroom?
it may have been. Does anyone know for sure?
People. Look, it's common knowledge that lying on the front of a cereal box is actually
It's
perjury.
akin to doing it.
Well,
in the
I believe that Horatio Magellan
I got
Crunch.
a lot of prize contests that I have to follow up on then, if that's the case. 'Cause
I'm just saying.
missed out on a lot of $10,000 prizes over the years.
I believe that Horatio Magellan Crunch isn't actually a captain, and he's capping in the words of Mick,
Yeah.
and he just has that to try and make himself look better.
He didn't go to captain school to be called Horatio. Okay, it's Captain Crunch to you. All right. What did you, Horatio Magellan Crunch? I like it. What did you learn this weekend, Mick?
I learned that ChatGPT, I either learned that ChatGPT has no idea what's going to happen in the draft, or I learned that I want ChatGPT to be correct because I put in there who are the Chiefs going to take with all their picks in the 2025 draft. And so, first round, Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State.
Let's do it.
Second round, they're going to get Armand Minbu. He's going to be there.
Hell yes, dude.
With the 63rd overall pick.
Hell yeah. I like that.
It gets better.
Oh, yeah?
Because in round number 3, 66 overall, Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State, will be there.
Yes,
Wow,
dude.
he's fallen.
Yes.
That's badass. This is a great haul.
In the 4th round, Harold Fannin Jr., tight end, another tight end.
Well, why not?
Double down.
Well, I mean, Kelsey's so good, you need 2 tight ends to
Yes,
replace him.
Right.
5th round, they're going to go ahead and still get Ariante Ursary.
Even though they don't have a 5th rounder?
Yep. They're going to trade. They're going to trade.
That makes sense. Dude, that's badass. They got Ursary,
They
too.
did mess that up. They have 3 7th round picks. You want to hear who they're taking?
Yes, of course. Is Shadur Sanders one of them?
Yeah, I feel like it gets a little redundant.
Ashton
but
Jeanty?
They are going to take 226 Tyler Warren again.
Wow.
Tight end, Penn State.
Take 2 of them.
And the 251st pick, they're going to take Warren, Tyler, a Penn State tight end. And Mr. Irrelevant, this guy's going to love it. Mr. Irrelevant's going to be Tyler Warren for a 4th time. They're going to now. I would let that pass. You draft the same guy 4 times, but still get that haul. Sign me up for that draft, okay?
Please
get all those guys.
Ursary Membu, Josh Simmons, Tyler Warren.
Yes.
Tyler Warren, and Tyler Warren.
Anytime I think that, and you're like, well, AI's going to run everyone out of business, you show them that, and you're like, no, I think we're okay.
But maybe they are. If that's right, then let's go.
You meant A1.
The 4s. 44, Tyler Warren. He's 4s, and he gets drafted 4 times.
There you go, and that's A1. Dylan, what'd you learn?
So I learned Sinners came out this weekend, directed by Ryan Coogler.
I heard it was awesome. Did you see it?
Also, I heard that as well, but he also directed a couple other awesome movies, Creed and Black Panther. His wife
So he likes Michael B. Jordan.
He does like Michael B.
I was
Jordan.
about to say that too.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're good.
He hates LeBron B. James, though. That actor.
Which he also
sucks.
made the second Space Jam.
best actor
Actually,
ever.
LeBron A. James. Okay, thank you.
And he might hate him because he made the second Space Jam, and we all know how that turned out. So
No, but I'm saying there's another guy, LeBron James, just like there's another Michael Jordan. What's his middle name? What's his real middle name?
I fault. Horatio.
LeBron A. James.
He ain't a real captain either. I'll tell you that much.
He's my king.
So his wife paid $300 before he was a big name for the screenwriting software that he could not afford. He is now worth $25 million net worth.
Did he
and
pay her
had
back?
I think so. I think he was able to repay her on that investment. And also, he had the highest grossing film by a black director at $1.3 million for Black Panther. Since the love of his life purchased $300 software for him.
That sounds like Michael B. Jordan might be the love of his life, too.
That's pretty cool,
well
man.
done.
$300 to
Sinners
$25
looks
million.
so good, and I
It's a parlay.
LeBron Ramon.
Okay.
So that's LRJ instead of it was close. It's close. What if it was
LBJ? What if it was
What is
LBJ?
Bromone? What is that? Bromone? LBJ. Still my king. The funniest from the weekend, Sterling. We start with you.
I find this funny. Probably no one else will, but I thought it was hilarious. We were at this bourbon night, and some guys were sitting there, and someone's like, "You look like Timothy Chalamet to someone else." I was like, I kind of see it, and so then for the whole night, I was like, "Who is one of the ugliest people I can think of?" I'm gonna go up to my boy and say, "Has anyone told you look like him?" So I was going up to my friends and going,
"Thanks a lot."
I go, "Has anyone told you look like Steve Buscemi?" And then people were like, "I don't know if I see it." And I'd show the picture of him with the bulging eyes, like the worst picture I could possibly think of him to be like, "Come on, doesn't he look a little bit like Steve Buscemi?" And so we just kept pulling pranks on people, pretending like that. Everyone's like, "Wait, you're right. He does look like Steve Buscemi." I thought it was very, very funny.
Can I run this back? So he paid you a pretty nice compliment. Is that what happened to start this?
No, someone else.
And
so I thought, how funny would it be just to like, because
I thought he said
no one
you
ever,
look like this.
no
and
one
then you
ever,
just were paid that way.
no one ever goes up to like other people like, you look like, I don't know, Steve Buscemi. So I thought it was funny to be like, hey, has anyone told you look like Steve Buscemi? It was pretty funny, and you get everyone else not like, yeah, he does look like Steve.
Somebody may have one time gone up to Steve Buscemi and said, you know, you look like Steve Buscemi, and he was like, yeah, I am. Like I was on an elevator with Carl Peterson, knowing full well that it was Carl Peterson, and I said, anybody ever told you you look like Carl Peterson? He goes, I am Carl Peterson.
By the way,
he was not going to ever get that joke. By the way, that's not the guy.
No, but he said, "I am Carl Peterson." Oh, you are.
Steve Buscemi and Big Lebowski was top tier. I'm a big Steve Buscemi fan. Just
Sterling, you're out of your element right now. Yeah. Okay, you're out of your element.
Okay, Donnie.
Funniest for you, Mick, from the weekend?
I'm going to go with funnest. I'm going to drop the I. It's not even a word. Watched a lot of WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday. It's so much fun. 2-night event. The main event last night, Cena and Cody Rhodes, not any good, but everything else was really good. A lot of fun watching WrestleMania.
Funnest? I like it. Yep, funnest.
Are you happy with the Randy Orton?
He's maybe my favorite wrestler of all time.
Right.
I love RKO, and
the guy who's fighting.
I actually didn't.
Nowhere?
What's that? He did is Randy K. Orton.
That's like the best moment of the night almost.
Actually did. That's one of the fights I didn't see. I had to hear about it. So
where were you at?
But we got. I was doing other stuff.
I was talking about the guy who was
so
fighting.
excited about WrestleMania.
Now this jerk came up to me and said I look like Steve Buscemi.
So I was preparing to fight him.
So yeah,
I had to go train real quick.
Rolling up my sleeves.
Is his name Horatio?
Yeah.
Freaking Magellan's everywhere, man.
Captain.
Took some random route to get there, too. It was a direct shot. He just walked all around these tables. For
Did
no
the
reason.
Undertaker show up or Goldberg?
No and no.
Okay.
No. Junkyard Dog was there, though.
But Cena's a heel now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you know that?
Steve Austin caused a potential lawsuit by running his RV into it's. I can't use it on a audio medium.
Would that be a
funniest.
lawsuit, though? Like,
Did you see what I'm talking about?
I saw what you're talking about, but would
What
that be a
happened?
lawsuit? Like, he didn't do it on purpose, right?
No,
I
and
mean-
honestly, did you see how far after the hit happened that the lady then, I better fall, so.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it was one of those,
Okay.
like,
I thought you was-
I better
yeah.
fall so I can.
I see what you're saying about the potential lawsuit. I thought maybe just because he
no,
ran
no,
into
yeah.
the screen that it was.
If
Yeah, I
you
see
look
what
back
you're
at the
saying.
video, someone
my
slowed
God.
it down. He hits the thing, and then a lady looks around and goes, and then like
Falls
faints
backwards.
almost. Oh, it's great.
That would be a little quicker on your toes or off your toes. Either one. Funniest for you from the weekend, Dylan.
The funniest for me, the Mets have one of the Acuna brothers on their team, and I think either sometime last week, I can't remember when this was, but the Braves were having some issues with hustle to the first base, down the first base line, and then Mark Bowman, who covers the A's, asked Snit about it, and he was saying that basically defending the player, to which Ronald Acuna replied to this, saying if it were me, they would have taken me out of the game.
No, that was Jared Kelenic. Jared Kelenic hit a double, what would have been a double, but pimped it, thought it was gone, and was walking down the first base line. It hits the wall. He tosses the bat. He gets thrown out at second.
Correct. You're right. It is
Yep.
Kelenic. So,
Yeah.
but then the Mets on their jumbotron, when his brother Luis Angel Acuna came up, his fun fact of the day was just has not done any tweeting today.
Now that's awesome.
So, and they're division rivals, so it's awesome that they're both
Well
on
done.
division rival teams. So
Yeah.
I always like the Acuna brothers.
Also, I love that Jared Kelenic, he should pimp it because he's batting 180.
Yeah, but I also think Ronald Acuna has a point because Ronald Acuna pimped it and did not attempt to go to second and stayed at first, and then was immediately taken out of the game because he pimped it. And Kelenic gets thrown out at second and stays in the game. And Snit after the game was asked, "Did you say anything to him about that?" Well, what should I say to him?
Yeah.
Well, you pulled Acuna for doing doing less.
Both would not play for a week for me on that kind of crap.
Yeah,
that's right.
I would keep Acuna in the game until next time.
Is that good?
Next time.
Alter the opposing pitcher to throw at him now.
Yeah. Throw at my guy.
Throw at my guy.
Throw at my guy.
And
Next
you
time.
He also get on base.
So this news story came across my timeline for my funniest over the weekend because that's what we're using the funniest from. And this news story was about a couple that broke up, and the man that apparently broke up or was dumped or whatever decided to get back at his ex and do it in a way that I thought was pretty creative. And so take a listen to this news story out of, I believe, Australia, in an ex trying to get back a scorned lover.
Cairns' mother has been forced to block dozens of calls after her ex-partner allegedly took her phone number and plastered it on poles here around the CBD, telling people to call up and impersonate Chewbacca for a chance to win $100.
This would be the most childish breakup I've ever had. All he had to do was be mature and go, I don't love you anymore, I want to move on.
The calls have been waking her and her 3 young children up at odd hours in the evening, and they're yet to stop.
I won $500. Well, I'm getting phone calls at really strange hours of the night, about 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock, eh? I thought it was quite funny, actually. I thought it was a good joke.
A good sport, Jessica is.
Just pull it down, please, and, yeah, have a laugh for me, and if you want to make a phone call, go for it. I don't mind. Bring it on.
She sounds like that's probably what I bet people have told her. Can you play the laugh at the end? But bring it on.
Bring it on.
Who was the first lady talking?
I guess the news or whatever.
It sounded like somebody giving an opinion there. It sounded like I thought that was the
sounded mad at
some
first.
lady.
It was the same lady that they interviewed the whole time.
She was like, "Why can't you just break up with me? Tell you don't love me anymore."
And whoever edited this video
The same lady?
put a
Okay.
Chewbacca sound after it. Did you hear that?
Yeah, right. We'll play the end again.
Bring it on.
Oh, well done.
Bring it on.
I want my $100.
Wow.
That was my funniest from the weekend.
Pretty good.
At least, and she got a kick out of it. Seems like a pretty cool girl.
Well, at first she didn't, and the second bite she loved it.
I feel like they cut it wrong.
Yeah, it felt like it was two different people.
It was the same person they were interviewing, though. Which makes the second part a little confusing. You're right. But I was just so excited about hearing the voicemails of Chewbacca.
It's good, clean fun right there.
Best, we start with you, Mick. Best from the weekend.
This has been, you guys might have talked about this, but Dylan said it has not been an LFB. I haven't done an LFB in a while.
Okay.
So you probably heard of it, and it was not this past weekend, but get over it, okay? The two small college baseball teams, Yeshiva had a 99-game losing streak.
I've not heard of this.
And Lehman had a 42-game losing streak.
Can you break that down for me in lower terms?
Yeah, in Yeshiva terms. Got it.
Thank you.
And they played each other in a doubleheader, and they split it.
No.
So both have ended their losing streaks.
Heck,
so congratulations to those two
I
programs.
was trying to remember when I was describing it to Jason earlier, but I forgot that, yes, they split the series.
They split the doubleheaders, a Saturday doubleheader. They met, and the losing streaks are over.
It would have been great if, it went in the 14th or 15th inning, and there kept being error after error and walking guys and scoring runs. Nobody can win this game. The other team is just trying to lose it. No wonder they've lost 99 in a row. What was the Lehman? How many did they lose in a row?
They had 42, which is pretty long.
Yeah.
Yes, almost a season.
Yeah.
And then Yeshiva, 2 seasons worth of losing.
99.
The Lehman had dated back till May 9th, 2023. Yeshiva had dated back till February 27th. 2022.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. They're just a generic ball club.
Lehman won the first game 7-6 in extra innings.
It was extra innings, yes.
And the second game, Yeshiva had gotten to 99 games, and they won 9-5.
About that, wasn't even close. Just punked them. Just punked them 9-5.
I need to go look, see if they've just done nothing but lose since. But hey, we got our one win.
Both of them.
The floodgates open.
Yes,
that's right. That's exactly what happened. That's once you got the monkey off your back, and look, nobody, and I mean nobody's going to come in here and keep a 99-game losing streak
100 times in a row.
Yeah, and we're not losing 100 times in a row. I can promise you that. Why? Because we're going to disband
so there
the
are
program.
2 teams that have had it worse than the Royals this past week. So there you go.
That is correct. There's 2 teams that have had it worse.
I got one more if we want to skip on down to here.
Oh, no. Yeah, best for you.
Sorry, Sterling. But the other team that might have had a worse weekend was the Baltimore Orioles. This is my best. When some teams don't tweet out the final score, this might be why. This tweet had 3 million views in an hour. It was the final score of the Reds 24, Orioles 2, and it has since gone to 6.3 million views with 6,500 retweets and 60,000 likes. So that might be why teams don't tweet out every single final score, is because it instantly becomes a viral tweet.
But a lot of them are sponsored, though. So there's a number of them that they don't have a choice. They're sponsored
This
tweets.
one did not have a sponsor.
Didn't have a sponsor on it? Okay.
But it does in the other ones, which is funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah,
now I noticed that.
Because there have been some to where it's why would you tweet this out? And then some social media people from teams that are on their own accounts are like, it's sponsored. We don't have a choice. We have to put out the final score. It's a sponsored tweet.
24-2, sponsored by ass-kicking energy drink.
I have an update
to your
for
point,
you.
T. Rowe Price is the official sponsor of the post-game win graphics.
Yeah. And T. Rowe Price is like, hey, you know what? Next time, we're okay with not doing that one. We won't need to make good. We're good if you just go ahead and don't tweet that out. That'd be great.
Lehman is 1-20 on the season. They have lost 7 straight since that 1 win over Yeshiva. Yeshiva is 1-19.
Oh, they won a game too? Oh no, they've lost every. Okay,
yeah,
I thought you were saying
they're
since that.
1-19 overall. But their streak is W1. They've won 1 in a row. They have not played since April 8th when this happened.
They're done going out on
Probably because they said once we win a game, we're
gone
done.
on top.
When we win a game, the program
They had a couple
is
rainouts. They'll
done.
play again April 25th. So there you go.
Hey, it's my birthday.
Well, that's good.
I hope they win for me. I do too.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, they probably won't, but I'll be cheering for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons they would like to win. I don't think your birthday is one of them. But you know what? Maybe they love you. My best from the weekend was my daughter's first softball practice. So that was my best, watching her out there running. I've been watching my son for ever. really forever. Like he's been with me my entire life, almost.
It's the opposite is true.
His
He's
whole
been
life.
with his whole life. With him.
Nope. He's been with me forever, my whole life. It's just
Your son's like 40 something.
absolutely in my mind he is.
He
You know,
plays
just,
9U baseball.
Yep,
Okay.
that's right. We take his birth certificate everywhere we go. with him. That's what it says right there. He wrote a note. I am 9. But no, my daughter out there in her first softball practice. That was not t-ball, but softball practice. Actually, coach pitch and stuff. So that was fun to watch her go out there and play. That was my best from the weekend. What about you, Sterling?
Yeah, I went to a bourbon night, and it was a great time. Had a lot of fun, and one of my friends was invited. Doesn't really drink at all.
Yeah.
And so
Did you think he looks like Steve Buscemi?
Does he know what bourbon is?
Well, I would have thought, but he showed up with Steel Reserve, which is malt liquor, a 6-pack of that, and just thought that that's what people would drink. I'm like, it's a bourbon night. You bring malt liquor. He proceeded to no one drank it, and he raided the guy's fridge for milk and drank some milk instead. Last time I saw him drink, he went to a place, got a Mai Tai, and it was called a Mai Tai Me Up. So he's not going to live down the. He's a bad choice of drinks. That guy. Yeah.
Milk was a bad choice.
Milk was a bad choice.
I would say that's probably the case. We'll take a time out. We'll come back, continue rolling. That's the guy that looked like Steve Buscemi. That explains it all, right? Or was he Chalamet? Which one was he?
It actually was Steve Buscemi.
I knew it. All right, wrapping up the show on a Monday edition. The program comes up next. Sprint Petro courtesy vote. We'll also be on Thursday night with our draft coverage right here on Sports Radio 810 WSB.
Draft week.
You pumped? You excited?
Can't wait. We have specials Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 6:30 on Kishba 41.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Kishba 41.
Kadog was on Kishba last night.
He was.
Yeah.
That's right. And you know what? He had a great final thought about Peeps. And
he hates Peeps, which I'm glad. Anybody that loves Peeps is lying to you.
He has taste buds.
Yeah.
Or they're related to the
Peeps
Peep family.
and candy corn are
the worst.
Yeah. If you like Peeps, you're related to the Peep family. That's the only
You've
reason.
made billions on Peeps.
Right, and you're like, you know what? I'm required to say I like them.
Yeah, I get that.
You know?
That's it.
Nobody
Nobody else.
Brutal. Awful.